Well, hello everybody. We welcome everybody to another photo lounge episode with our photo review for the month. And as you can see, it's the Hollywood Squares night episode. Uh, we've got Gustavo and Roy, and Randall popped in here while I was sleeping, and he woke me up. And we got Mr. Stewart, who's sitting in his car running on auxiliary power. And we've got Chuck as always, which is great to see Chuck. And we've got 80 images for tonight's show. And I think that's a good representation. And we like to get between 70 and 80 images. And we will start off briefly here with just if anybody on the panel wants to share anything that they've been up to or done since the last time we had a show. It seems like forever. The way the calendar fell, it just seems like a long time since we've been on the air here. And in July, we have, of course, the 4th of July, and we've got, maybe people taking vacations and stuff like that. So we have to find our way through that for the month of July. But if we're good for tonight, we're good for 2 weeks from now. And we're going to get the ball rolling. So Gustavo, we'll start with you, and then we'll move over to Roy, and then do the bottom row. You got anything to share?
Well, I've been busy running errands. Recently, as as I explained to the panelists before, doing transition into more and more retirement with insurance and all that kind of stuff. Apart from that, photography, it has been busy. Spring here, correct? So there is a lot of next boxes and nesting that I'm monitoring, and you guys will see some of that tonight. Okay. So today you have some photos from my prior trip to Moab, and then you will have some of what I have been doing actually all through May. So anyway, that's it from me.
Roy, what do you got, buddy? I don't know.
I've done almost nothing. I've barely touched cameras in the last month. I've been very naughty.
Uh-oh.
All my pictures are of kookaburras and cockatoos and that sort of thing. You've seen all them before so many times. You don't want to see them again. Next.
Next. I'm gonna skip me here. You guys hear enough from me during the show. I'll give you a break. Chuck, you're doing okay and staying out of trouble?
Yep, doing pretty good. Be there. See, I got all the commanders. Canton is right up there where it really should be, but I haven't had a chance to really get some pictures and pick like that. So
you're gonna go to that event there in New York or no?
I want to do. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, because that's just 2 days, I believe, right?
Yep.
2 days, yeah. And yeah, I tell you, if I lived obviously much closer, well, you know what? Me and B&H would be a dangerous mix. It's probably better than is much better than I'm 800 miles away from there.
Yeah,
keeps my marriage in better shape that way. David, how about you?
Well, I'm here on the bald ass prairie, trying to keep out of the smoke that we have in the north, and it's we've got a lot of fires in the north this year in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and most of the fires in Manitoba, I've been there, so it's cutting close to home. So, and one of the communities that I lived in for quite a few years, they lost half of it. And wow. I don't know if they're going to lose more of it or not. But anyway, it's not looking good, but that's okay. It's I'm far enough south that I'm out of the smoke for now, and we'll see how long that lasts. But And you won't hear sirens tonight, but you'll hear big trucks going by. So I got to have some noise in the background. Over to you, Randall.
Well, I picked up the new Bill Trox 16 millimeter f1.8, and I've been taking some pictures and putting it through the process. Basically, it was just for vlogging, but look how big this lens is. It
Ooh.
does have a window, which is real nice. And let me turn it on. And you can see that it'll tell the meters away or centimeters, whatever. But
I like the window.
it's excellent. It's excellent. And I was wondering if David Stewart has one, a 16 millimeter f1.8, for your astrophotography.
No, I've got a 10, 12, and a 15. And two of them are f2 and others 2.8. And but when you get to that focal length, you can stand a little bit longer shutter speed. So, but I've been, and this is not the good time of the year for astrophotography for me, because it's too bright at night, and it's only dark for maybe a half an hour or so.
Wow.
And I was talking to our friend Terry down under, and he's been having so luck with the aurora, and he's been doing better at the Milky Way. So, but that's because there's summer solstice here and winter solstice there. So, makes a big difference.
Well, you know how when I lived in New England, as Chuck does now, when in the wintertime, when all of a sudden, we'd get a real bad wind chill or unexpected storm, they'd always say, well, that's because the cold front came down from Canada, and they'd always be Canada's weather's coming to us. It's all Canada's fault. And then it's funny you mentioned well, not funny, but you mentioned the fires, which is nothing to laugh about. I mean, we had a pretty good one here in Myrtle Beach not too long ago, but they've been talking about on the news that we have some smoke that's actually reached here from your fires.
Wow,
which is pretty amazing. I wouldn't have thought that we would have smoke from Canada. So now it's just something else we can blame you for too,
Well, they're getting smoke in Europe too from our fires.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
But usually our bad weather comes from Alaska. And then we recycle it and give it back to you.
you massage it a little bit and then you throw it our way.
Yeah.
So we'll just say hi to everybody that we have in the chat. We've got 19 people now. So we've got Terry is here from down under, and obviously we've got let's see who else we got here. Bob Our Photos is here. Woody's here, and Robert from CT, where I used to work, is here. And let's see, J-Rod, that's good. Good to see you. Maryland man here. And he says we're looking good. His eyes must be very tired. We're looking good. Okay, we'll take it. We'll take the compliment.
I think he needs glasses.
Yeah, more than likely. Yeah, it's a shame, It's when you start thinking you're looking good, you don't have your glasses on. That's what I say. But we're gonna, wait till we get a few more people in here. I like to have a little over 20 before we get started. We've got 80 images tonight, and we have some rumor news and photo information that we can talk about. Not a lot. There really wasn't a lot out there. And then we have, if time permits, and we're not getting into some other subjects that people bring up in the chat, we'll maybe do the discussion about the vintage camera that I meant to talk about last week, the Hage Exacta V2A camera, and we'll see if we have time to do that, but that's not a priority. And let's see, we're up to 19, so maybe we'll talk about a few, get a few rumors out of the way here in the first few minutes before we go on to the pictures. On June 23rd, we'll start with Nikon here. On the 23rd of June, Nikon's going to increase the prices on the majority of all their F-mount and Z-mount lenses, and if made in China, along with other accessories like flashes and filters and things of that nature. And they're saying it doesn't look like camera bodies are affected, but this is all from Nikon rumors. Give them credit where credit is due. But when you look at the list, the F-mount lens increases are really, really high versus the Z-mount price increases. So I found that a little bit odd, but I'm talking significantly higher than the Z-mount increases. And but we'll see how it goes. Everybody's starting to raise their prices for one reason or another. They got the Build Expo in New York City, and Nikon's going to have gear for hands-on use, including red digital cinema cameras as well. I'm sure it'd be interesting for anybody that goes. Anybody that does get an opportunity to go, please send in some images from the shows that we can share, possibly a couple of weeks from now. And they've got Nikon's, as always, has a lot of guest speakers over the 2-day event, which is the 17th and the 18th next week. They have Amy Vitale, Joe McNally, Christy Odom, Rod Marr, Jerry Gionis, and a lot more than that. So definitely get a chance to listen to any of those people. You're going to get something out of it. And there's 2 scheduled photo walks every day at 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. by various photographers as well. So if you're there and you want to partake in a photo walk, you have the opportunity to do that. The rumored Hasselblad X2D version 2 medium format camera was leaked online. It's expected to have a 1 terabyte SSD built in and a CFEB card, LiDAR focusing, 100 megapixel CMOS sensor, 16-bit color depth, 15 stops dynamic range, 5-axis, 8-stop IBIS face detection, and it's a very mild refresh from the existing camera. So I don't think everybody's going to dump the one they have to get this. Supposedly has 2 new buttons on the back, a 5D button, which I'm not sure what that does, and a customizable button. But like I said, stuff's just starting to leak out, so there's really not a lot of information on exactly what every single tidbit of features are going to be. But they are saying so far that they expect it to be a mild refresh of that camera body. And they have a new Ryko GR4 camera, excuse me, that was shown at the GR Space event in Tokyo on May 31st. It's going to come in the fall with a new 28 millimeter f2.8 lens, which is 35 millimeter equivalent, 5-axis IBIS upgraded from 3, a new 25.74 megapixel CMOS sensor, and an image engine. An SN mode is added to the top of the dial for what they call snapshot mode. Has a switch on the side of the camera to select internal storage. That camera is going to have 53 gigabytes of internal storage, and also a micro SD card for video files. A built-in mist filter. There are several videos on YouTube. It's not a video-rich camera. It is primarily a photographer, a still image tool, and something that's nice and small that people might put in their car and have it as a carry-around camera. And the Ryko series of cameras have quite a, let's say, a good following over the years. And but it because like I said, it's not video rich. It only shoots HD at at 60, 30, and 24p with a 25-minute recording time. So you're not going to buy it. You're not going to be buying it for its video features. You're buying it to have a camera that you can walk around the city with or whatnot and just take some pictures. And so that's kind of all that we had on the Nikon rumors side of things, and we'll pick up on some of the other rumors a little bit later. So I think we're at that point where we want to start our pictures. So let me switch the screen over to that and bring up my cheat sheet, and we can get started on the images, because that's what everybody comes here to see at this time anyway. So give me a second to switch the screen.
Wow. I love that.
Make that bigger. Oh, no. Huh. Okay, I guess that's as big as it's going to get. And bring up the. Give me a second to. Yeah, I have to move things around here. All right, so the first images that we're going to see are from our friend Woody Mallory, and this is his granddaughter at 5 years old working on a messy ice cream cone. He says this is what he calls an in-the-moment kind of photo. He just pulled the camera out, took a quick picture, and this is what he got. And we all love to have these kinds of images of our young members of the family, so that they're good blackmail photos when they grow up. That's what I call them. This was he took this with the D3300 55 millimeter lens, f5.6 1/100th of a second. And he says, by the way, her older brother now has that D3300 that Woody gave him when he bought the D500 years ago. So wonderful shot, Woody, and it's nice to see something in here. To be honest with you, other than birds, even though I like birds, but we need people to share more street photography and people shots too. We want to see a nice mix. Some wedding images would be nice too if somebody's doing that. Give me a second here. I got to adjust my other screen. So Woody's next shot, I'll bring that up here. Another one that's interesting. This is he says, this local man of OBX gave me permission to take his photo while he was buried in the sand. He did send the gentleman a copy of the image. This was with the D7100 f13 62 millimeter 1/640th of a second at ISO 560. This gentleman, I'm sure, just hopes that they do dig him out and not leave him there. But that's cool. You know what? And I made a point of looking at the sunglasses, the reflection in the sunglasses, to see if Woody was in there, but I don't see him. So Woody made sure he didn't show up in the guy's sunglasses when he took the shot. So obviously a very skilled photographer, Woody, to make sure you don't show up in the guy's sunglasses. So good job with that. And then the next image is a Cooper's Hawk, one of my favorites. I love Cooper's Hawks. And this was in his backyard, no less. D7100, the 200 millimeter Tamron. This is on the 70-200 G2 lens at f6.3 1/640th of a second. He says this is the largest Cooper's Hawk he's ever seen come through migration every year. This is a good sized bird, that's for sure. Yeah, really is, and the color is really nice. on the bird as well. So congratulations on getting that. My question is, were you sitting on your front porch drinking a cup of coffee like Gustavo does? So those are the 3 images from Woody, and thanks so much, Woody, for sending these in. We appreciate it. Now, the next round of images are going to be
Great shots, Woody.
Yes, very good shots. We got a series of shots from Anita Stewart, followed by images from Bob Reppert from Bob Our Photos, and then we have a few images that Gustavo directed me to or sent to me that Diana Ishii had taken and got permission to share some of her images too. So that's where we're at. So we will jump to Anita's, and we will start the narrative here. And she says, here are 5 photos taken this winter using the Z6 II and Z8 cameras. And she says, as usual, all are handheld. She told me to feel free to pick and choose, so I chose to show them all. Wow. She says, so glad that winter seems to be over, but one never knows in this part of the world, as temperatures can drastically fluctuate in a 24-hour period. She wished me a lovely spring, and that hoping my wife's enjoying her retirement. And yes, my wife is enjoying her retirement, and she's having a lot less retirement withdrawal, none actually, versus me. I had a difficult time the first year, but she's like, no big deal. This is great. This shot was taken with the Z. I must have had a typo here. I don't know. Z80.
It's a new camera.
Yeah, I don't know why it says Z80. I think some numbers got jumbled up, maybe. I'm sure it's the Z8. 1/13 of a second, f10, ISO 200, 70 millimeters with the 70 to 180 f2.8. This is a sunrise at Banff National Park.
Beautiful.
And her next shot. Same camera, same lens, 1/30 of a second, f10, ISO 200. Also at sunrise. That's so nice. I like this with contrast of the golden colored grasses, and then you got the green of the trees, and then the peaks of the mountains with the snow. That's great. She says this was a late afternoon shot at the same national park with the Z6 II, 1/200th of a second, f11, ISO 200 at 60 millimeters using the Z24 to 70 f4 lens.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's very nice. And then let's see here. It must be breathtaking to just, be able to visually see this, close up in real life, Yeah, so just another late afternoon shot. And
see, with Banff, there are places where you want to shoot them in the morning and where you want to shoot them in the afternoon. But you did really well with these, Anita.
Yeah, they're very nice. If she made prints of a lot of the stuff she sends in, I mean, she wouldn't have any bare walls in her house by any means, I'm sure. And this is a sunset view from her yard with the Z6II, 1/30th of a second f11, ISO 200, 35 millimeter with the 35 millimeter Z lens f1.8. And so this is the backyard shot. A lot of play areas for the kids.
There's a school across the street, and this is the. This used to be the playground until they put some mobiles in there.
So
maybe it still is the playground.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I wonder if the playground is still in use or not.
Well, they use it all year round. Just because there's snow on the ground, there's no reason why you can't get out and play.
Well, if you have a little snow on the slides, you just slide faster. So that's everything that Anita sent in. So Anita, thanks so much. Anybody see if she's in the chat? I don't see her. If not, hopefully if you go back and watch the show, you'll hear the thank yous from us sharing all that information and pictures, great pictures. The next series of shots that you're going to see. They're actually a series of shots of red-shouldered hawk from Brookgreen Gardens down here in the Murrells Inlet area of Myrtle Beach. And Bob and I, and actually this particular day, Mozman was with us. He came down. He was down in North Carolina to see his dad, and I went up there one day to shoot at Wrightsville Beach in North Carolina, trying to get some baby birds. And then he came down here and shot with Bob and I, and we ran into this. We have been tracking and taking a series of shots of this red-shouldered hawk over a couple visits, and so you're going to see some of these images now. And here's the first one.
Wow.
So this was ISO 3200, 370 millimeters. This is with the 180 to 600 lens on his Z8. So it's ISO 3200, 370 millimeters, f6.3, 1/800th of a second for this first shot. Yeah, this was really, really cool. This beautiful bird, and it went through a process, and I think we both have video clips as well. I haven't really done anything with any new videos on my channel lately, but I think I'm due to get off my carcass here eventually and put together something. But this bird was behaving like it had to cough up some bones or something. I mean, it was really having a hard time, and we probably, between the two of us, we probably took over 100 shots of all the contortionist views of this bird turning its head and spitting out saliva and looked like it was choking to death. And it went through this whole big show for us. And in the end, we never saw anything come out of its mouth, and then it was fine. So go figure. So I don't know if just something got stuck, and with all the twisting and turning, and somehow it made its way down the rest of the way, but it never did cough anything up. But it was definitely, you could just see, it's just constantly moving around, and we didn't know what, we knew what we thought we knew what was going on, but nothing came out of the mouth.
And the background was beautiful, Jeff, as well.
Here it had sideways here. I mean, it was quite the interesting thing. And of course, the problem here, when we go to Brookgreen Gardens, they don't open up till 9:30 a.m. in the morning. And so by the time you actually get to the area, or certain areas sometimes where you're trying to shoot, you get a lot of backlighting through any of these openings in the tree branches and stuff. And Gustavo, anybody that does wildlife knows all about that. And you're just trying to balance things out so you don't have too much stuff blown out. But you're always going to have lighter areas there. You can't do anything about it. And but I think these shots came out really, really nice. Like I said, this was with the 180 to 600. For those that wonder if you can get good shots with that lens, and you definitely can. So, Bob, thank you so much for sending these images in. We appreciate it, as always. And Bob's daughter and son-in-law were down here. I think they're probably leaving tonight sometime. But I got an opportunity to meet his daughter and son-in-law, and went out a couple times shooting with them. And I think the daughter had a good time, and we got some images. Well, all the birds down here, save one, they don't have up in her neck of the woods up in Pennsylvania. And so she was thrilled just to see the different birds. So she had a good time.
Beautiful.
Now,
Good thought, Bob.
Yep, good job. We got a few images here from
And Jeff, you guys must have been. I mean, this bird quite well behaved, because you guys were. I see the information from Bob. He is only at 340 millimeter.
Yeah, we were. We could get pretty close. And you'll see a few shots from me later on of the youngster, which isn't so young looking anymore. I mean, it's a juvenile, and I don't think it's probably taken its first flight by now, but the nest was very, very, very high up. So the good thing about a long lens is that you can get away with you can get an image close enough of the bird and be far enough back where it's not obvious that you're shooting at something so high. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that it looks like you're shooting eye level, but it looks pretty darn good because you have that focal length. That's another advantage of having a long glass, is
Exactly.
that you can back up and still be able to get a decent size image out of the bird, but definitely not have that look where you're at the bottom of the tree and you're shooting up at the sky.
Exactly.
So that is one of the big advantages of having that extra reach with a lens. So, and you can see here, I mean, this area was pretty high up, and you don't get that impression at all. Not in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, no, that's true. Very good job, Bob, with this red-shouldered hawk.
Now, the next images, like I said, Gustavo sent these in to me with permission from Diana Ishii. These were from her Instagram account.
That's correct.
And so we'll bring up, and these are architectural shots. And Gustavo, were these with the new
These were with the Fuji.
the new Fuji with the fixed lens?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And she mentioned that she had to come to this place a couple of times to get this view, right? And trying to frame within the building some of these crows. Actually, it looks a little bit low resolution here, but again, we know how talented Diana is, and for me, this picture, I mean, you can see she's a photographer, correct? She go and photograph people, and it's wonderful. She go and photograph architecture. It's good. She's on the chat. So thank you, Diana, for sending.
Diana, nice to see you. Thanks for allowing Gustavo to steal your images for the show.
No, I didn't steal anything. She sent it to me, and I forwarded to you. But they are wonderful. And I think what I admire of sometimes what Diana does, and I see many of the people here does as well, is she has a concept, correct? She goes with a purpose.
Yeah.
This is not willy nilly. She goes with a purpose, and she frame it very precisely. And of course, she had to do some cropping. She told me, but with that 100 megapixel camera, there is a lot of cropping that you can do.
Oh, you could do a lot of cropping. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Now this second shot is now she took the second shot, and this is her persistence as a photographer. This is her second shot, which was taken a week later, and she went back to the same spot. She adjusted her angle to include the Fujifilm X sign, and we'll bring it up here.
exactly.
And so she changed her angle, and she waited for half an hour or so, hoping some crows would fly by. And you can see that there's crows there in the image, and a few of them did make it. So persistence and having pre-visualizing, what she wanted to accomplish when she went out there, and she made numerous trips, and she got what she wanted to get. And this last shot, yeah, go ahead.
Guarantee you, she still have more to do with that, because when you get a console like this, you keep working on it until you get the image that you want. But I mean, apart from being a great photographer, that's one of the things that I admire her. Her pictures are very well conceptualized, right?
Yeah, and the last one that she gave to you is a cropped version of a different photo she took on the same day. She wanted to see how many megapixels she'd have after cropping, and the file size was still, on this next image you're going to see, is still 27 megapixels, and that's the, and that's a big deal. I mean, it really does matter. It really does matter.
Exactly. And look at the size of the image is simple but elegant, correct? In my opinion. Yeah. I mean, the beauty, the eyes will behold it, but for these photos that Diana put in their Instagram account and speak to me, that's what I encourage her to give us a chance to have a discussion, because we can all learn from each other. Correct?
Well, she's playing with the lines here. She's taking advantage of the architecture. You have the diagonal lines. You have the straight line, right in the, almost not quite, well, pretty much in the middle of the frame. You got the straight line. You got the sun poking through the clouds. You have a lot of things that you're looking at in this image. That you're picking up on. That makes it, obviously an excellent composition. Very, very well done. So we thank her for sending those to you and letting us show them on the show. And hey, we look forward to seeing more from you and John. So when you guys feel free to send stuff to us anytime, because we'll show stuff on it. We'll show stuff on any of the shows. I mean, you got something that you captured, in between this show and the next one, and you go, I think this was one of my best shots ever, or whatever. Send it in, and we'll show it 2 weeks from now. So we don't have a problem doing that either. So thanks again. Those are the images from Diana. So we thank her very much. The ones coming up now, the next ones are going to be, series is going to be from Terry from Down Under. And then we've got some pictures from Luis. So we will start with Terry's first image. And I'm glad, Terry, you put your name on your images too, because, I have a lot of brain farts. I forget names all the time. So this is, he says, starting this time with these shots with an oldie from his trip to Western Australia, the famous, in quotes, apparently many photographers from all over the world would have shot it, Little Blue Boathouse in Perth at sunrise. And this was with a Canon 5D SR with an EF 16 to 35 millimeter lens at 35 millimeters. f11, 1.6 seconds at ISO 100.
Very nice, Terry.
Yeah. You got it. The window, the light. It looks like the inside of the building is lit up. Just from the light coming in through the windows.
Exactly.
Really cool. Now his next shot. We will bring that up. This next shot, and this is not. This is probably taken in Roy's backyard. This is a relaxing wallaby chewing a little flower on a cloudy afternoon. Healesville, Victoria, with a gap between the trees for the background. This is with the Z9 with the Z180 to 600. Once again, here's the 180 to 600 performing well. F63, 1/40th of a second at ISO 90. And I want to say hello to Rakesh. I see he's in the chat. So, Rakesh, good to see you here. And let's see, we will move on to the next image.
Yeah.
And this is he says, this is from near his house. He says, from near my house park is this third shot in a series of a white-throated tree creeper. This is a Z9 with the 180 to 6, once again at 600 millimeters, f6.3, 1/160th of a second at ISO 900. Yeah, that's kind of an odd name, a tree creeper. That definitely makes you think twice about wanting to go outside.
Yes.
So that was a wonderful shot. And this image is, you heard Gustavo's vocalization here because he probably recognized where it was. He says, not to forget Iceland and the great Skogafoss waterfall from a distance. And he says, this time to show the beautiful green landscape of the area. And this is with the Z9 as well, with the 100 to 400 lens at 100 millimeter, f16, 1/125th of a second at ISO 500. And the detail in the shot is gorgeous. Yeah, that's just. I mean, it just looks like, oh, here's this giant sinkhole, and there happens to be a waterfall in the middle of it.
And the foreground with the lupines, fantastic.
Yeah. You got that pop of color, and obviously it was an overcast day. You could see the darkness in the clouds, and I know, just me, when I did landscapes, I mean, I always tended to underexpose slightly anyway because you always want to have the colors have some depth to them. I didn't want to brighten them up too much and wash things out. And so I like where he is with this exposure in this shot.
And both there, I remember Terry complaining that it was wet when most of the time that he was there, but the light was good, as we can see from Terry photos. They also well executed, beautifully, Terry.
And then the last shot he sent in. Now, this one he says, the last shot for the show here for him, he says, for people who don't mind a Photoshop post-processing image, this was a surfer in the sunset when he was waiting for the Atlas comment at the Rye Ocean Beach. So he did a little Photoshop work here, and it has a very surreal, artistic impressionist look, does it not? I mean, really cool. This is also with the Z9, with the 180 to 600 at 600 millimeters, f16, 1/320th of a second, and ISO 500. So,
Beautiful. So Terry, tell us what you did, because I mean, the image looks good. So probably you only enhance some of the colors, but again, very well conceptualized.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. I mean, I don't dive in too deep with Photoshop myself personally, but you know, you could do a lot of fun things in there. That's for sure. So Terry, once again, thanks so much for sending these in. We always appreciate getting your images. And
Beautiful.
we will move on here to Luis's images. So let me get set up. So this is an extremely cool shot with capturing the bee and the hummingbird, both eyeballing the same flower. He says this is I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong, lesser violetier
Yes.
from a known lodge in the highlands of Costa Rica. And this is with the D500. Once again, folks, old gear still works great, doesn't it? D500 with the 200 to 500 zoom at 450 millimeters f8, 1/1600th of a second, ISO 3600. I like seeing images with older cameras because, you know, every camera manufacturer, regardless of brand, they all try to make it out like you need the latest and greatest, like all the old stuff that is all of a sudden isn't any good anymore, and that is not anywhere near the truth of the matter. You can get, if you got a good picture of something 20 years ago with a camera, you can still get great pictures with that camera.
Beautiful, beautiful. And the background is pleasing on this one, very much so.
Now his next image is a northern cat snake in the Corcovado Peninsula in Costa Rica. He says at night next to a pond with a lot of calling. I think he meant next to a pond with a lot of calling frogs. He says the snakes hunt for frogs. This is with the Nikon D7100. And he does like his Tokina 100 millimeter macro lens. He uses that a lot. F11, 1/100th of a second, ISO 400, and he used a flash with a diffuser on this. And
those photos from Luis with the flash are very, very natural looking.
I like the tongue sticking out there.
Beautiful.
Now his next image. This is a Eurasian crag martin taken in southern Portugal from a low bridge with a dry, grassy background. He says it wasn't an easy task to follow them as they flew into or from their nests under the bridge. This was with the Z8, Nikon Z8 with the 500 PF, f7.1, 1/3200th of a second, ISO 500. Yeah, you want to give yourself an exercise in futility and develop your skills with your focusing technique and tracking technique. Try to get small birds. Try to get small birds in flight, and you'll have a grand old time. Definitely a challenge.
And particularly these swallows.
Oh yes.
I mean, they are so fast, incredible. So very well done.
Great job.
I'm impressed.
And then let's see, he's in one more here. This is a bird that I hope to get someday. I gotta leave South Carolina though to get it. Obviously, this is Atlantic puffin. This is Southwest Wales from a boat. He says the sea was calm enough to make focusing easier. He didn't try to use the rule of thirds at all. The movement ensured that the bird was there in the frame. This is with the Z8 600 PF f7.1 1/2500th of a second ISO 800. And he mentions he wasn't sure that if he'd be able to join us on the day today. He will be here 2 weeks from now. And he says he's progressing well with the Taiwan project that he's working on for that show.
And that will be on June 17th. So not next week, but the following week.
Yeah, that would be the 21st.
21st?
Yeah, because today's the 7th.
Exactly. So 2 weeks from now, guys, we have Luis making a presentation to us on. I think they call it Taiwan, the hidden gem. So
now he says he went from when he sent these to me. He said 2 days prior he had gone to Grays of Westminster and he bought the DX 50 to 250 millimeter lens. He says that lens will be more for his wife's use than for him, but he says he'll give us an update on it later after they use it for a while. So those are the images from Luis, and once again, thank you so much for taking the time and sending these in.
beautiful. Thank you, Luis.
And we move on to Mr. Michael Dries. And then after Michael, we've got images from David Stewart. And so we've got, we get Michael's first image up here. This is a sandhill crane with a colt at Indian Lake Estates in Florida. And the colt's looking up at the parent. This is a cool shot. He's probably, he's obviously very much at ground level with this. He says he says here he's shooting low to the ground. That's pretty obvious, but it gives you that nice blurry foreground element in the immediate foreground, and then you have that little strip where everything's in focus, and then everything in the back is all blurred out. This is with the Nikon Z8 with the 800 PF lens, f6.3, 1/1000th of a second at ISO 1800. And wonderful shot. Very nice.
Lovely.
Very
and
nice,
Michael.
Michael.
And the story, correct? That with the little one looking at the daddy or mommy here. They're beautiful.
I like the position of the wings. It's like when can I learn to fly? And not yet, kid.
Exactly what Robert said. Your great perspective on the crane. Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Now this is an older spoonbill, and I love the older ones because, like me, they're bald on the top of their head. So I always like the older ones. Rosetta spoonbill. This is obviously bird in flight, but this is a let's just put it this way. This image is not exactly what you may think it is. Okay, because this bird was up in the air and it was close to a boardwalk area at the wetlands area. So this was actually what you think is the sky is actually the reflection of the sky in the water.
Exactly.
So you may think, oh, that bird's high up in the sky. That sky looks great. Well, it does look great, but it's actually a reflection in the water. So very good job. And he had the 100 to 400 Z lens at 135 millimeters. Excuse me, f5 at 1/2000th of a second, ISO 450. Yeah, you get that nice reflections. Give you, usually the reflections aren't pin sharp. Obviously, the water isn't always perfectly still, and so you get that little bit of out of focus look. And but it's really nice shot, beautiful shot, nice lighting, nice exposure.
Do you think you used a polarizer?
Well,
Probably not, Randall.
yeah.
But the light that comes from reflections are typically polar.
Yeah.
So So that's why they give you that impression. But the bird is illuminated without a polarizing effect, but the reflection from the water
Okay.
get polarized.
All
Hey,
right.
by the way, Jeff, I think we have Mr. Stewart in the background, so
Yeah.
he wants that allow him to comment, although we don't need to, we don't see it. But and I for whatever reason, I can only bring 4 people. You have access to all the other people, so otherwise I brought you already. So anyway,
Oops.
So I'm
All right.
back now.
you're
You're
back.
back now. Yeah, I'm trying to, but let me, okay, is everybody on here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can go back to the other view. But
Well,
Where's Roy?
except for Roy.
No, Roy's not here.
Okay.
so Roy
So
has
let me-
problem with the internet. He mentioned in the
Oh,
chat.
okay.
Now Jeff had to cycle between all the different modes.
Yeah, let's see. Well, I think you probably like it better that way, I would think, right? I don't know. Which way you like it?
Make the pictures big.
There you go.
That's the one.
There we go. Okay, so now I got to get back to back to my working screen here.
Beautiful picture anyway. So
Very good, Michael. And now his next shot is,
that's
he
beautiful.
says this is a limpkin. It's small in the frame at Lake Walk in the water at Nalcrest, Florida. Z8 with the Nikkor 28 to 400 at 41 millimeters, f5, 1/500th of a second, ISO 1250. He says the limpkins at our local lake are acclimated to people, which allowed him to get close enough for a wide angle view to show off the beautiful environment and sunrise colors. This lens is incredibly versatile and provides good image quality. The only drawbacks are pronounced vignette in some circumstances, and the focus is not as fast as a good prime. But, I don't think anybody's going to argue that this shot came out very, very nice. Nothing to complain about at all. And then his last shot that he sent in, let me just make sure I'm correct. This is the last shot he sent in. This was with a new lens that he got. It's an Eastern Phoebe on a weather vane with the Nikon EF with the new TT Artisan 250 millimeter mirror reflex lens, which is why you have the swirly around bokeh balls. Which some people may like, some people may not like it. But it gives you definitely a different look, does it not? So this is at f5.6, 1/800th of a second, ISO 720. He says he's just starting to experiment with this lens. He loves the donut bokeh produced by the lens. And as I just mentioned, he says it's not for everybody, but it really cleans up messy backgrounds. He has a pair of Eastern Phoebes nesting on his front porch, and they frequently perch on the top of this weather vane. And he was able to pre-focus the lens on the weather vane, and he's using focus peaking at the maximum level to help with focusing. It's still a difficult process. The lens is never razor sharp, particularly on the edges. Yeah, and I was talking to Martin, actually, in some back and forth emails, and I was complaining that, I really have a problem with focus peaking. I mean, I just, I don't know. It's just not my favorite thing. I'll do exactly what they tell you to do, and I'll assume the shot's going to be sharp, and then it's always softer than I want it to be. And he kind of has the same problem. Part of it could just be that between my eyesight not being fantastic and wearing glasses doesn't help any as well. So, but yeah, it's that would be a subject of interesting interesting conversation to see how many people use focus peaking and how many like it and how many don't, how many have problems using it. But anyway, definitely an interesting looking photo with that lens, and send us some more as you continue to learn from it and use it. And feel free to pop on the show and talk about it for 10 minutes if you want. And that's it from Michael. So thanks a lot, Michael, for what you sent in. Good, very good stuff. Great stuff as always. We appreciate it. And the next images are from Mr. Stewart, and assuming his connection is still good, I'll let David talk to these as I bring them up. And we'll bring up his first one here.
This is how they ride horses in Vancouver, in the West. I'm sure you guys do it down south too. But I used my 100 to 400, this wide open on my Z9 for this. And and he made it on for the 8 seconds, so he was doing good. So,
and that was indoors or outdoors?
This is outdoors.
Okay.
And it rained not that long ago, so the ground wasn't as muddy as I would have liked, because it's really interesting when it's in the mud.
I'm sure after a run here with that horse that he's popping a few Advil when he gets out of there.
Oh, those guys are real athletes, and when their 8 seconds is up, they have a hard time letting go of the horse there, because they got their hand tied in that tight, and there'll be 2 outriders that come beside, the one on each side of them, and to help them get off the horse, and for safety and everything else. And is the strap at the back of the horse is there to tickle the horse, and that's what makes them buck. And as soon as they take the strap off, the horse usually stops bucking. And it's not me on the horse.
No,
I know better. And I would ride a Western saddle because I don't like the feel of them. And these are all Western saddles. Yeah.
You should have yelled, "Hey, you're not supposed to lose your hat."
Well,
you lost points because you lost the hat.
No, he has that, but those guys should be wearing helmets, but they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Here's your next shot.
Nice.
And this is barrel racing.
That's quite a lean.
Oh, yeah. And the horse knows exactly what it's supposed to do. And lots of times is that the rider is just there. She guides the horse, but the horse knows what it's supposed to do, and it's usually all over in 15 seconds. They just fly around the track.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously looking ahead to the next barrel or whatever, because she's
she's looking towards the finish line there.
Yeah.
And she's holding on to the horn too. I've noticed at this set of races is every one of the women riders is holding on to the horn the entire time. And I'm not too sure why. It gives them a bit more stability, but it can also bother your balance.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then David's breaking out the big gear here on this next shot.
Yeah, this one, I had my 800 PF in the 2 times. And this nest was about 400 meters away. and I shot it in the afternoon on a day with rain in the forecast. So it was very heavy overcast. As soon as you hit 600 millimeters, you have to worry about the atmospherics because they'll spoil your picture. They'll make it all fuzzy and hazy and whatever. And so I have to wait to the proper day so that I can shoot this. And when I was out shooting before, I just made it back to my truck by 5 minutes and the rain started. That's how close you got to be to when it's raining. But you go out with all the rain gear for this. And that's when you can get the good shots when you're using such long focal lengths. Otherwise, you got to do it first thing in the morning, and the light is in the wrong direction first thing in the morning. So this is an afternoon shot.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah.
The little ones like saying, "Okay, go get me something."
Yeah.
And then David has his traditional cannon explosion here.
Yeah, this is the 9 o'clock gun. I when I had the the group out in Vancouver, and it seems to be every time I shoot this, it's raining, and so and this shot here was straight out of camera. Yeah, I didn't do anything to it other than watermark it. It's and I had the umbrella in one hand and the camera on the tripod in another, and you try holding an umbrella and putting your camera on the tripod at the same time in the wind.
Now, what camera body were you using? You remember?
Yeah, I had my 8 with me on this.
Okay.
And I used my favorite lens that everybody should have if they shoot Nikon. And actually, it's worthwhile changing brands just so you can use that lens. The 24-120. I think everybody here has one.
Yep.
Pretty well. Yeah. And I know Terry, he's got a Z9 and a half. So he probably has that lens too. He showed me his half of his Z9 last night. It's interesting. Yeah. But when I shot this, I did it as a burst. And the nice thing about the Z8 is even when you're shooting bursts, it is fast enough. It'll recalculate the exposure at aperture priority between shots. Yeah, and it's really good that way. It's and this is my 9th time trying to get this shot, and this is my best one so far. It only happens once a day, and I picked this time because sunset was really close to 9 o'clock. I think it was within three minutes. And in Vancouver, this is how it normally is. It's either wet or it's raining.
Now, is all that done like automatically? I mean, there's nobody in that structure, is there?
Yeah, no, there's nobody in there. Yeah, it's done automatically, and they've got a countdown, so that I think it beats 10 times, but I'm not sure. So at about number 8, I've got my finger on the shutter, and just it's all over in half a second.
So
Yes.
they probably have to go there. They go there and reload it.
Yeah.
Every day, and then just set it up.
But in this shot, you can actually see where it is lit from on the back of the cannon, and how the flame is going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so it's And it was lucky because it was raining. There was nobody else out there to bother the group. You know,
Exactly.
yeah.
No, I always like that shot when you get that shot. It's cool. Very cool. And
Yeah,
I think
so-
that's the last one you sent in. So thank you so much, sir.
Oh, no problem.
We appreciate it. And I'm glad that you were able to get those eagles.
Yeah, I'm not really into wildlife or that kind of wildlife, but those eagles are interesting. It took me quite a while to find the nest, and that's a new nest this year. So it could be the parents' first chicks. You know,
Oh.
so and that's as close as you can get to the nest is at 400 meters because it's on the other side of a river. I was in the bird sanctuary and they were in a golf course, but you can't get near them in the golf course. You can get underneath them, but you can't see them.
Hmm.
You know.
Even birds like to play golf, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
thanks again, as always,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem. Our next grouping, we got some shots from Jeff Sluter. And then after Jeff, we got Randall. And so, Randall, get prepared, buddy.
Yeah, I'm ready.
You're ready? Yeah. I'm gonna. I'll have a few comments for you before
Yeah, I
turn
know.
off. But we'll get there in a second. So we're gonna show Jeff's images here, and the first shot he has is of a female deer, and he says someone has babies close. Mama white-tailed deer. He says check out the full udder.
Yeah.
Canon R7 with the 100 to 500 at 500 millimeters, f7.1, 1/640th of a second, ISO 1000. He took it at a local park. Jeff always manages to find deer no matter where he is, though, I think. He always has good luck. He always good luck with deer. And then he, the next three shots, he went to a poppy festival in Paris, Kentucky. So the next three images are of poppies.
Yeah, I like that one.
And this is obviously with the same Canon R7. This is with the 10 to 18 RFS at 16 millimeters, ISO 800. And he's at f29. And then in parentheses, he says, yes, f29. He really wanted to try to get as much detail in those multiple flowers as possible. And he did.
And very nice perspective on the flowers, right? Taken from below the level of the flowers.
Yeah. And then his next, let's see here, his next image. This one, he said, it was very windy, and he was just, trying to, obviously, you've most of them are a nice soft focus, soft out of focus image with the one in the foreground, a couple in the foreground that are sharp. But he said it was very windy, and he was at 1/2500th of a second with the 100 millimeter macro lens at f8, trying to freeze the movement. He's at ISO 1000. Yeah, that's the issue I have down here, is being close to the ocean. Anywhere I shoot with flowers, I'm always fighting a breeze. Very, very rarely do I have a day where nothing's moving. Makes it a real pain in the neck, obviously. And then his last shot that he sent in, also of poppies, was his, what he calls his attempt at an artistic attempt, just letting everything blur out and swaying in the wind. And this is with the 100 millimeter macro once again. And he's at f32 here, 1/13th of a second, ISO 125, and handheld. He says, "Could you guess?" Handheld. Could you guess? Question mark. Yeah, but it's fun to experiment with your camera, and especially nowadays with digital, and I mean, it doesn't cost you anything, right? Not like the film days. So it's not costing you anything to experiment, and yet people are still reluctant to do so. More often than not, believe it or not, a lot of people don't like to experiment, even though it doesn't cost them any money to do so. But I'm glad that you did that.
Oh, personally, I treat a lot of my photography as experiment, and that way I'm not disappointed if I don't get the shot.
Yep.
You know, and if you don't experiment, how are you ever going to get stuff like this? This is almost ICM.
Now the next images are from Randall, and before I show his first image, when we get beyond the first image, all I'm going to say to Randall is my mama would say to me, would make a comment, Randall. And I'll leave it at that.
All right.
You definitely shocked me with the images, and they're very good. But obviously, a subject matter that I don't think you've ever shared on the photo review before. So I think people are going to be very interested in what you captured, and they're very good and totally different from what you've been sending in, and I think it's a real nice set of images that you sent in. So let's start with the first one, and I'll let you. I don't know if I have them in the right order, so you can yell at me if they're not in the right order. But we'll start with what I have as the first one of a cormorant here.
So that log with the last rain that we had about 4 or 5 days ago, it rained for 6 hours. That log is completely gone. But there used to be 5 or 6 turtles and 2 of those birds always on that log every time I came to the river. And it was pretty high when I went to look at it last time. But it was beautiful when I was there. And this was in the end of May. Okay. So
Now, is this far away from where you live? I mean, is this a long drive?
it's about 20 minutes away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just north of where I live, off of
The name of the river, Randall, you didn't mention?
Guadalupe. It's in New Braunfels, Texas. Yeah, I wrote a little thing down in the comments. I was playing backup. I was trying to learn how to shoot for modeling, and the main guy was working for I don't know.
And we'll bring up your next shot since you mentioned modeling. So this is where all you guys are going to say, Randall, Randall, you took this, Randall. What are you doing, Randall?
So if you notice, I had the 85 millimeter right here, and this is with the Canon. The main guy, Briston, had the 50 millimeter, and I didn't want to get in his way because he was giving all the instructions to the model. And this is just one of them. But, she changed into different costumes. I was shocked that they got into the water. Okay. But, modeling, they put up with a lot of stuff. But the thing is, it helps them with their portfolio and helps them get a little fame. So Briston is real good with Instagram, and he posts most of his pictures on there showing the different models off. But most of the pictures he takes is with the Sony A9 III with that 50 millimeter. And this, believe it or not, was with the 28-70, but I got some shots with her because you invite to buy 5 or 6 models and only 1 or 2 show up. So it's just a lot of waiting around. But when I thought it was all over with, and then she showed up, so I didn't include the shot with the 200 to 800 millimeter because I was going after the wildlife. And once she started modeling, I went back to the car and I got me the, I think it was,
So this one's the 28 to 70.
yeah. So I got the 28 to 70 on this one.
Yeah. And then we'll jump to the next image here.
Okay, so this is another model. Okay. And I use the Plena. And you can see how wonderful the Plena is. So these are different days of shooting. I use different cameras. Canon the first day, I had a little Sony, but this was Nikon day. And the Plena was just fantastic. Of course, I had to back up and I slept down. And after 4 times falling into the Guadalupe, I had to get me a new phone. But next time, I'll just leave the phone in the car. And this gal right here was a lot of fun. She joked a lot, very intelligent. She's going to college, and she has a nice portfolio. I can't remember her name. But you see, I was just backup. I was just trying out different lenses.
Yeah, here you got the Canon EF 100 millimeter f2 lens on this time.
Yeah. So, I'm always experimenting. This is the macro EF. And I did a comparison earlier with the RF compared to the EF. And this may not be the macro because I talked with Peter Gregg. He says you need to get this lens because it's fantastic, the EF. And it's the F2, I think.
Yeah, f2
Yeah.
USM.
Yeah. So I went with that lens and I was just amazed. So, you talked earlier about DSLR lenses. They're fantastic. I use them on the my different DSLR cameras. I also use them on the Z8 and the other Z mirrorless cameras, cropped or full frame. They're fantastic. So I think the reason why the prices are going up is one is I think they're going away from DSLRs and they're running out of stock and the demand is high. But the other thing is they could be price gouging too. So
how many sessions do you have with this photographer?
I had something like 5 or 6, and then that was it. I learned a little bit. I said, okay, this is interesting. But after the 4th fall and I had to get me a new phone, I says, you know what, this was getting expensive. So anyway, but I really appreciate it that I was invited to learn something, and I'm always willing to try something new. So she was a great gal. Trying to look at the last picture. Yeah. I
So
think
you're not supposed to try to get in the water with them, Randall. That's the problem. That's why you lost the phone.
Well, it wasn't my fault. I tripped over my feet, and next thing you know, they got some deep holes in there. And one time I fell. I saved the camera, but I lost the phone. So, but anyway.
But hey, I think it's great that you got an opportunity to do something different, and you did use a lot of different lenses. And like you said, you were trying not to interfere with him doing his thing, so you were backed up a little bit. So, but you using a slightly longer glass with the 85 and the the 135 and the 100 here. You were able to frame everything the way you wanted and not interfere with his process at all. And you got some good experience and had a lot of fun other than losing the phone.
Yeah. Well, I love the compression with the longer lenses.
Yeah.
Not enough people talk about that. But
But Rando, this is a type of photography you would like to do more or
Uh,
not?
I don't know. I'm always changing. So
Okay.
I want to go traveling and take some more picture taking and stuff, like of wildlife. I want to go back to Colorado and visit my sister and my brother up there and visit some nephews. But that's what I'm looking forward to is more traveling. And of course, I'll take certain cameras. But it was an interesting experience.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw Real Nikon Lovers, Jim's comment. He says, this brings a new meaning to going postal. And say hello to Mike Farwell, who's now joining us as well. So that's nice to see you, Mike. And yeah, a nice selection of images, Randall. Really good job. Really nice.
Yeah, if anybody wants to see the full shoot, just go to my channel and yeah, you'll see them in one of the 3,000 videos I put up. So good luck on that. Just look for Guadalupe, and you should get it.
No, good job, my friend.
Thank you.
Very good. The next images, what I did here in some cases where I got and or requested two sets of images, let's say from certain individuals. So what I did was like, you know, I might show the first set of a few images that they sent, and then break it up with somebody else in between, and then go back and show the other shots that they took. So you're going to see that in a few instances here as we move along. Like these next three images, Jim, aka Real Nikon Lover, sent these images to a few of us of this creature that was trying to make it into his house. So you're going to see this shot coming up here. And he said this was trying to get into the house. He says he's told it's a camel spider. He says they're wicked, non-poisonous, but do bite very fast, and they can run backwards. And I like his phrasing here. He says he had a difficult time capturing these images as he kept trying to run from him. Aggressive little star, exclamation point, blankety blank blank. We'll beep out that word that you wanted to say, but would not write it in the comments. And so that's one shot of this this critter. And then he sent in this one.
Oh, I love that one.
And
beautiful.
I mean, it's like he's crouched. You know, I don't. This is one of those views that you don't trust it because it looks like it's crouching down and it wants to spring upwards. You know, and land on your face or something. That's all you need, right? But here you get a good shot of the abdomen on this one too, and all the hairs, those small hairs. So Jim sent these in. So these are cool, Jim. These are neat. So that was his first series, and then in a little bit we'll see some other images that he sent me later on. And we're going to jump to some images from Bob Rosano, and let me get there in a second here. Bear with me. So Bob doesn't like to. Bob always. I'll joke with him here. And he poo-poos his own work sometimes. You know, he does wonderful shots, and he kind of says, "Well, it ain't that great a shot," you know. But he does great shots. But he says these aren't any great shots by any stretch of the imagination. Of the Clifton Bridge images. So this is just two shots of this bridge. These were taken back in 2008. He says when he was working in the UK off and on, and the aircraft side of the business, that he pulled a few people from the company out to help out in Claverham which is a hydraulic actuator company that United Technologies Aerospace System owned in the UK. So he says what started out as a 1-week trip in February 2008 ended up being about a year and a half of going back and forth for long 1 to 2 month trips between 2008 and 2010. He spent most of 2008 in the UK while continuing to support the extravehicular mobility unit best as he could. Not being in Connecticut at the main plant. So he was staying in Bristol, UK, and in the hills above the city is the Clifton Bridge, which spans the Avon Gorge. The bridge was designed, oh boy, I'm going to pronounce this, designed by Isambard Kingdom Brunel in 1830. Construction wasn't finished until 1864 due to disruptions from riots and funding issues. The bridge is a suspension-type bridge, but the interesting part of the design is that the cable that the bridge is suspended from isn't actually a cable. It's made from a series of cast plates that are pinned together to form chains that are strung across, and the decking is suspended by rods connected to the chains. The photos were taken with a Samsung NV11 point and shoot camera that he bought to have with him while he was in the UK, and a whopping 10 megabyte camera. Exposure was 1/1000th to 1/1500th of a second, f3.7 and ISO 80, and the focal length was 7.8 millimeters. He says, which was probably around 50 to 55 millimeter equivalent for a 35 millimeter camera.
It has a film look.
Yeah.
Correct?
And so this is the first of 2 images of the bridge, and here's the second one here.
Okay.
And you can really see, all these plates, up against each other here. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So then he moved on to what he calls a tree house. Use your imagination a little bit. And he was hiking around Great Pond in Simsbury, Connecticut to see if he could get any bird photos. And that was a bust, but along the path he noticed that some kids or some really intrepid squirrels had made a small house at the base of a tree. He decided to come back with a tilt shift lens to experiment with that. So he used the Z9 with the PCE 45 millimeter f2.8D ED lens, exposed at 1/125th of a second at f3.3 ISO 64, and he had the lens tilted up to the maximum setting of 8.5 degrees, and he took this shot. And that's you think that's some kids had a little bit of fun fooling around, making a little tree house at the base of a tree. That's pretty creative. The kids get extra points for that one. And then he said this past weekend he took a shot of a water lily. I love water lilies personally as well. I really like them a lot. It wasn't fully bloomed, but it's getting there. Shot with the ZF and the 135 millimeter f1.8 Plena lens. He had just bought the Plena and was trying it out. Was originally thinking of getting the 800 PF, but that wasn't on sale during Nikon's latest promotion, so he settled on the Plena. Yeah, that's tough, Bob, when you have to settle for the Plena. I mean, we're not going to let you get away with that one. He says, we'll wait out the tariffs to get the 800 millimeter likely next year. He says, done with camera gear shopping for the foreseeable future. Exposure 1/1000th of a second at f2 ISO 100. Yeah, it's water lilies are. I look forward to the water lilies blooming down here at Brook Green Gardens. They're fantastic, and especially when you get all the bees flying in and out of them too. You get a lot of great shots with bees. It's a lot of fun. So that's all the images from Bob. Thanks so much for sending those in. Great job as always. We appreciate it. And as you can see, Bob sent in some images from 2008 time frame. And when we do this show, it doesn't have to be current stuff. I mean, you're just showing things that meant something to you, that interested you, and we don't care if it interested you 30 years ago or 40 years ago or 5 days ago. Just share it with everybody. I think everybody appreciates it, and especially when you show the older stuff, it's usually with older gear, and people, get a reminder that the old gear did great work and still does today. The next shots coming up are from Gustavo. So Gustavo, I broke up Gustavo's images into several different sets as well. So we got 3 images from Gustavo, followed by some images from Martin, and then we go back and look at some other images from Gustavo. So Gustavo can warm up his windpipes here, and we will pop his images up on the screen in a second or two. I'm gonna just say hi to my dog quick. She's being very, very good here, not making too much of a fuss tonight. Hi, Patches. You want to say hi to everybody? You got nothing to say? Huh? Yeah, I know. They don't send you treats. They don't send you any food. Right? You're like, they're not my friends. They don't send me nothing. That's all right. You're fat enough. So here's the first image that we'll let the.
This is this first series of photos are all panels, right? Which I like. This is in the Utah area around Moab, where there is a concentration of natural park, and it's a fantastic place for photography, but it's very difficult to translate the grandiosity of the landscape there. And sometimes I think panel, although it's difficult to show here in this type of show, it is basically the best type of images you can make. So this is from the going south from the Moab area into the Bears Ears National Monument, which, as you know, having a lot of controversy around that national monument that was expanded. Again, all these panels that are going to show you were done with a 24 to 120 millimeter, correct? So David was talking, that's a kind of essential lens. So that's the first one that I grabbed when I tried to do some of this stuff, correct? There's a lot of national parks, a lot of trails in that area of Utah, and I like the desert. So, and if you are blessed with some good sky, which I was not blessed many times during this period of time, then you can get some interesting photos. So this afternoon there were some photos. So you will see here a series of panels. So the first one is from that Bears Ears National Monument, mostly focusing on the sky because it was
I love the white fluffy clouds with a little gray in them. It's
so this one didn't work as well. Very difficult because it's a long panel, so you can see it shooting against the light in one end and towards the light in the other end. But unfortunately, I get to this area there. This is part of one of those jeep trails that you can go into the canyon lines. Actually, this is entering the park on the west on some of those trails from the backside, jeep trails. But I couldn't get a connection, so I want to go through the park, and you will see later on what I have to do. So I was a little bit late in the evening, and it was a very sunny day, which is good for getting off-roading, but not so good for the sky. But this is the Colorado River, one bend of the river, again taken here with a 24 to 120. And And this area is also famous because this is just outside the park on that road, and this is where the film, the famous shot from Thelma and Louise was
Yeah.
also filmed. The car go off road into the cliff. So this is actually taken from the same cliff, and this is a place that I visit when I have regularly. Actually, I told my wife, let's go there. I haven't been there since I have the C9 and C8. So, but definitely more trips to go on this area. I love this area of Utah.
And your car managed not to roll over the edge, correct?
Yeah, yes. Well, you will see, Jeff. The next one, I think I made it especially for you.
Oh
Because
yeah.
the-
You think I'm going to get that close to the edge? I don't think so.
well, no. The thing is, this is actually a very famous Jeep trail called the Schaefer Trail, correct? That actually goes from the island, the sky, and the top of the Canyonlands National Park, and it takes that switchback road uh, down into the next level on the not yet at the river, but at a level that called the White Rim Trail, which is a fantastic place, correct? So, but you can see, Jeff, you had to go from that top of the mountain with the jeep all the way down, and I have some photo for another show. I'll send you some. You basically climb through this wall, and actually I tried to get from the backside so that I can go through this trail, which is a series of switchback going up. But that day, because I couldn't get the right connection to the dirt road, I had to enter from the top and going down on this, and lower gear. It's quite a, once you get down to, let me see if I can show here on my to the flat part, you really feel like a woof,
Now what travels
finally
on those trails? I mean, is it
a Jeep
pardon?
trail.
Jeeps?
Jeep
Okay.
and motorcycles or dirt bikes and that kind of thing. But basically, is for off roading. This park is fantastic for that. Correct? And actually, it looks scary, but it's extremely well maintained by the national parks. So that you're not going to get into into trouble. But so I encourage people, even the ones that have never done this type of thing, if you travel to that part of Utah, you can rent the Jeep in Moab and then do some of these trails
Oh,
by
wow.
yourself.
Okay.
Now I'm sure the thing with this is like if I'm looking, I don't know if you can you see my arrow on on the
Yeah,
screen?
I can see it.
So what
Yeah.
do you think is the elevation difference between like if you're here versus here? Because you
Oh,
look at it and you go, it doesn't seem like it's much, but I'm thinking it's a lot. It's a lot, a big
oh,
drop between here and here.
you remember this area here, the desert, the air is dry, so there is no good sense of perspective. This island, the sky, the level from where this picture is taken, is like about 10,000 feet or 9,000 feet,
Oh,
right? And then when you go back, I mean, you go. Remember, this road goes back all the way to the
yeah,
Colorado
look at
River, right?
it.
But at this portion here, the switchback, I tell you, when you get down and with your Jeep in the lower gear, your knuckles are
I'd be
white,
going down
right?
here like this, and all of a sudden, right around here, you'd hear, boom. That's it.
The first time I came to this, we used to run a geological workshop in an adjacent part of Utah here, and part of the uh, 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 part of the trip was to take some of these were colleagues, but junior colleagues, to see some of the outcrops in a place called the Book Cliff. But then we take it to this concentration national park. I tell you, a lot of the people going down, like say with a wagoneer or something, going down this road, they didn't want to even stick their neck outside the window.
Yeah, that would be
So
me. That would be me.
yeah, you will be in the floor of the car, Jeff. Co- so anyway, but I think people like Bob will appreciate that. But it's a wonderful place to go And this is actually, again, from the top. This part of the park, there is the confluence between two important rivers, the Colorado River, of course, and then the Green River. So this is actually from the Island of Sky, which is where all the paved roads are, and this is the Green River overview. That's a place that I go and photograph time and time again. So again, this is another panel, okay? And you probably cannot see that, yeah, but that road that come from this level, which is
Down
at the
here?
highest level,
Yeah.
go down. Well, that's actually
That's
a wash, but you can see this
Over
this
here?
road here. Exactly. That's the white rim road. Correct. To do that in the park with a jeep, you can do it in a day, but most people do camping as they go along because you are at this level. Of course, this is the level where the Green River is. On the other side of the park, what you will have is the Colorado River. And for me, people that are not so familiar, the views of the Colorado Canyon, in my opinion, in Canyonlands National Park in Utah, are even better than in the Grand Canyon. Eh? And you can get here in the winter and where there's patches of snow. If you have a storm, it's wonderful place.
Now, when you're not having ever been to Utah,
Yes.
what I mean, are you like? I guess I don't want to word this. You fill up the tank of gas in your car or your vehicle. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to be careful, like how close are the gas stations? I mean, you ever get yourself in a situation where you're going to run out of gas?
In the town of Moab, obviously, it's only from here half an hour from this
Okay.
area, correct? In the, let's say, pave part of the park. But if you're going to go off-roading, correct? You probably, if you want to stay a couple of days in that dirt roads, you probably you take some
Yeah,
gas
you
with
have
you,
those.
correct?
Yeah,
Other
they have those
road,
big gas.
that other road that I told you, a Schaefer Trail, which by the way was a cattle grazing trail. So correct, the owner of the original owner of the land needed to bring the cattle for water, and of course he has a pasture at the high level and wanted to bring it to the Colorado River, and so he dynamite that trail down before this was a national park, correct? But but that Schaefer trail, Schaefer Trail, which I've been going from Moab through the Colorado River and then climbing into the park, which is the way that I prefer to do it. It's only like it's a day trip, correct? You started early in the morning, and then you are at this level, the higher up level, where all the overviews are by 11 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah. So for this one, you don't need to take the precaution. Obviously, you need to know how to ride off-roading, and of course, if you're, but these roads that are maintained by the national parks are not the difficult trails. Now, in this area, there are some difficult trails. I mean, really places that you don't want to go and destroy your car. But even a Toyota Sequoia or any kind of Jeep will be able to do these trails. So anyway, so the last one,
This was the last one, and then we'll
we
will
go
back to the other ones you sent after we have Martin's images in between your set there.
But this area of here in the United States is unique, correct? The Southwest here, and particularly around the Four Corners, there are so many places, and if you like to photograph this type of thing, I mean, of course, I didn't show you anything from Arches,
Yeah,
correct? But the good thing is that this is only like 5 hours from Denver,
Yeah.
correct?
Wow.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
That's cool. Oh, thanks a lot for these. I like them. I like them a lot. And we'll jump here quickly to a handful that Martin was nice enough to send us. And then we will come back and Gustavo can narrate the second set of images he sent in. And of course, I always love Martin's and verbiage here he sends in and with German words that I can't pronounce, so I have to sound, but whatever. I do my best that I can. I am actually German, part German, but my grandmother, my mom's on my mom's side, my grandmother spoke fluent German, and her. An aunt across the street from her spoke fluent German, but they didn't really speak it much in front of me, so I never picked up on it. But anyway, Martin's first shot here. Oops. Nope, let me. Okay, this is from, Martin says, this is from his hometown, Wiesbaden. He says, this is the spa. This is the spa. He says, it's one of the better known and bigger buildings in the city. He says it is kind of the center of high society, but it is free to enter. The area from which we look towards the building is called Bowling Green. And we're not talking Kentucky, but it's called Bowling Green. And behind the spa is a big park, which he said is quite usual for spa towns. Says out of sight to the right is the Hess State Theater, and to the left there's a casino. The spa was first erected in 1810 and rebuilt in 1905 to make place for a bigger version. The Bowling Green hosts events like concerts or public airings of football games like World Cup and such. He says most of the time it's just people chilling, though. In this case, literally, it was pretty cold. So this is with the Z6 II, 24-70 f4S, ISO 160, 1/800th of a second, f8, at 44 millimeters. Nice building, cool building. Of course, all the buildings in Europe are cool, because they're old. They're not like what we got in the States, that's for sure. So the next shot Martin sent us is, he says, this is one of his favorite orchids. It's called early coral root. He says it is really hard to find, locally pretty rare and tiny. He says these ones are from the Rhone Mountains in eastern Hesse, but he's seen those in quite a few places, even in the United States. He says the plants do not have leaves and are usually 2 to 10 inches high. Says this year was exceptionally good for this orchid. He says I like to show some surrounding with the flowers to give them context, thus no close-up. He says, anyways, as I have said it before, he says, I hate the Nikkor 105 for its bokeh characteristics, which makes taking pictures of this kind extremely hard. Oftentimes, sharp edges will have double or triple contours. He says you can notice this on the leaf litter in the bottom left-hand corner. However, it's a beautifully sharp lens. He goes, well, still love the picture, and it was such a nice day, but please, Nikon, give me a 200 millimeter f4 macro. And I remember writing back to him. I says, yeah, if they came out with a 200 millimeter macro, I would buy it. I would buy it. This is like you said, this is with the Z6 II, the 105 f2.8s, ISO 100, 1/640th of a second at f3. Yeah, I would definitely buy a 200. I keep saying I don't need any more glass, but if they came out with a 200 macro on this Z mount, I would buy it. Wouldn't think twice about it. This is a wonderful shot here. This is, he says, this photo is for Gustavo. So he's calling you out, Gustavo. He says, this photo is for Gustavo. He took it on his recent trip to the River Loire. The mountain in the background is Mont Grubier de Jonc. It is one of countless volcanic peaks in the Massif Central and is also where the River Loire has its source. It is also the watershed between the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean. He says the place is of stunning beauty. The meadows are full of flowers, pansy flowers in this case. He says, of course, I had to climb the mountain. Maybe I am too stupid to realize that I may be too old for adventures of this kind, but it went fine. He says, well, the mountain is there, and there is a view to be had. Z62, 24 to 70 F4S, ISO 1400. And he says, yeah, I know. ISO 1400. 1/1600th of a second, F14 at 37 millimeters. So
I do love it. So thank you, Martin.
And the last picture that he sent in. Well,
Nice.
well, we're getting a preview of your next shots here as I'm losing control of my mouse. I'll pronounce this one wrong. I did pretty good so far, I think. The last picture is of the Esculpian snake. He says, a photo buddy of mine, a Canon guy, came for a visit, and we tried to find those snakes before, but this time, with the help of a mutual friend, we found it. He says, it's the biggest snake that can be found in Germany. It's up to 6 feet long, completely harmless and rather timid. The snakes have cultural and historical significance in Southern Europe. The snakes often roamed in the temples of the Greek god of healing, Asclepios, as they were said to possess healing powers. It is still seen depicted in pharmacy signs here. Anyway, it was a very special moment for us and a lucky find. He says, I would not have spotted it in the hole in that wall, but yeah, we had help. And this is one of the instances where the 105 is perfect. He says, oh, I have to admit the Canon guy took the best photos this weekend. He's pretty good. This is the Z62 105 28 ISO 220 1/160th of a second at f3.2. Yeah, that's cool when you're gonna gotta find that small little hole where that snake is. Martin,
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for the images, as always. We appreciate it. Really cool. I like that snake. Well, I mean, not in my house. I wouldn't want it, but I like it. It's in my house now, but it's on my screen. It's not real, so I'm happy.
I don't know how he could make a better photo than what Martin did here, the other guy, because this is pretty cool.
I mean, it's fantastic where it's blurry in the front. The snake is sharp, but you can see it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So now we go back to okay, now we go back to the second series of images that Gustavo sent in that are going to knock your socks off. And probably knocked his socks off while he was taking them too, I would think. But anyway, here's the first one. We'll let him narrate.
Yeah. So you guys know that I have been following a couple this type of year, follow a couple nests in my backyard, and this is a tree that a partially dead tree that I left, correct? So that the woodpecker could make a nest, and this is a woodpecker of this area called the northern flicker, and I have been photographing these northern flickers in my area or in my yard for about 3-4 years, correct? And this year, actually, they didn't make a new hole. So I said, okay, this year we're not going to have nestling and we don't have to have activity. But later in the season, beginning of May, a lot of things start happening. And actually, was exchanging some emails with Kuarasi and David about the situation. So all my mornings, and that's what I was in duality. Do I send some photos from my recent trip to Moab and encourage people to visit there, or what I actually have been doing? And in the morning, I've been taking out to my front porch, sitting down with my camera about
and his
5
cup of
minutes,
coffee and his cup of coffee.
my camera on the tripod and the remote control, and trying to get some action photos of all the things that are happening. And this is actually for this installment, and we will have some more. This is just interaction between the flickers. It just happened that this northern flicker in this area, there is two varieties in North America: the red shafted and the yellow shafted, which is in the east, and the red shafted. But here, this area of Colorado is between the two, so you have some hybrids. So in this case, it's what I call pair one, and they were the first one that took possession of a nest cavity that actually was excavated last year by a pair that is not here any longer. Correct. So this is the female on one side. Just called the hole is just behind her, and this is the male, and it's called yellow shaft. It's basically this is a red shafted, but in this hybrid show characteristics of the yellow shafted, and they refer shafted as the core of the actual uh, uh, um, primary and secondary flying feathers. Correct. So these are characteristics from the east and the west. So I try to take some action photos. Okay. So these years, I told you, there have been a lot of activity, not only with the flickers. So two pairs have been interested on taking possession of the nest. Okay. And actually, there is a lot of interaction between the females with the females, and the fighting the males with the males, and that's actually what I have been doing a lot of these photos. So trying to get some close up of the action of this. And in this case, you can have you have the two females, and actually one of the females has a distinctive beak, so I'm able to differentiate between the different morphologies of the hybrids and some of the characteristics to differentiate the pairs. And you can see that in this case, the female for what I call the pair one, which is the one here on the right side, is attacking the female on the pair that is that I call a pair two, and they can be quite vicious. Actually, every after I finish taking the photo, my wife that day, what is a new chapter? So this is an action, females on the females, and this is an action of the two males, right?
Wow.
And you can see the two males. In this case, again, the pair one is trying to defend or take possession of that nest cavity by the pair two. I'll give you a spoiler when I make a longer story about this. That first pair is no longer there. The pair two, which is actually taking the brunt of the abuse here, actually eventually succeeded in getting possession of the bird. And even today, we still have some fights going on. But this pair, pair number two, which is the one being attacked in both of these photos, is the one that actually succeeded.
Now, I got a question for you on this image. If you may or may not remember, but obviously, I mean, both birds are exceptionally sharp, and even at the wingtips, pretty much. And you're at f7.1.
Yes.
So I'm curious if you remember where your autofocus point was on this image.
Actually, Jeff, believe it or not, I actually was using letting the camera pick the autofocus. So it's a big area, the largest area with the bird subject. Right? That's how good photography can get. That's how much we can do nowadays. Right? Because if you have typically what this action happens, there is one that is inside the nest or around the nest. So you pre-focus on the nesting area. As soon as there is a bird, the autofocus will detect it, okay? And as soon as there is an eye, okay, it will try to go to the eye. Now,
so you're using auto capture here?
No, well, I use a mixture of auto capture, but this one not with auto capture. I use a remote, correct? So I frame the photo first, and this is a little bit cropped, correct?
Yeah.
So because I want to give a space so that I can capture some of the action, and then I frame it later, correct? uh, basically, if there is no bird in the nest cavity or no bird landing in there, I would actually focus on the hole, because I know they're going to try to either emerge from the hole or get out of the hole. This is where an auto capture work well here. Actually, I need to have a discussion with David, because he having some problems. But sometimes just anticipating the action, or if we were to as pre-capture, which is what we want, it will be a lot easier. Okay,
Yep.
but the focus taken by the camera. Now you have to have good conditions of lighting. Correct. That's the reason why I go to this to sit to take my coffee out 5:30 in the morning, because I do it every day. Correct. So I know there is 3 periods of time that I can take the photos here. If it's overcast, I can take a longer time. But I take some pictures first when the background gets illuminated, and then I export for the background, and I get some wonderful colors. Which I think this series is from that, or I can wait until the light actually rises enough, and that typically give me about an hour. So if I have about couple of hours where I get sufficient light to have a 1/8,000 of a second exposure. Correct?
Yeah, you got good light here because you got plenty of light in the background, but not overly bright. And you could tell the bark on the tree that you got a decent amount of light hitting the side of where the front of the tree is. So,
This is we remember we talk about Diane with anticipation and preparing.
yeah.
That's the preparation, correct? So I know the nest, correct? I know what it is because I see it every day. I monitor it, so I know I have to be sitting there. I typically get just at sunrise, correct? And then I wait. Actually, I have been taking film when the light is not that great, and wait until that period, and then photograph during the period. Now, I had to basically hope that there is action during that time period where the light is good, correct? But that's what it takes. But if I can do it every day, eventually you get something good, correct?
Now your last shot in the series here is I mean, you got a story to go with this, and I'm sure everybody's going to want to hear why this is happening, because this is a crazy shot.
Yeah. So part of the competition for the nest is, or for the cavity, in this case, this nest cavity, is if one of the females will lay eggs, correct? And they manage to chase the whatever was the female at a time in the nest, or the male, the other male or the other female actually will come and take the eggs. Now, I didn't say, because I'm going to show you another period. There have been also a lot of trouble with a pair of with some European starlings trying to get possession of these. And the fight between the starlings and the flickers have been quite interesting as well, correct? But the flickers, in order to try to get possession of this, and this is a pair 1, correct? They have been trying to get the eggs out of it. And the reason that I know these are the flicker eggs is because the starling eggs are blue. Right? So and this thing have been going for quite a while, correct? So I have at least a little bit, I think I have 3 or 4 days in which they have been taking the eggs out. Now the pair 2, which is not this one, this is the male from pair 1 that actually was taking some of the eggs. Now I think things have been settled a little bit, and the pair 2 seem to be guarding the nest a little bit more. So I hope I don't see more of these, but I have 3 different occasions with both the males and the females were taking the eggs out of the other pairs in order to take possession of the nest. Now,
so they just fly off with them, and I'm assuming they just drop them on the ground.
They drop them somewhere else. Correct?
Yeah.
Actually, one day, one of the eggs was dropped. Correct? And you can see the egg was still a little bit soft because it was laid down probably the same morning, right? Now, what interesting that natural history aspect of these birds, and now you understand why, and is that they typically incubate 3 or 4 eggs, correct? But there was a time that somebody was watching the situation happening, or they have a control environment like an Xbox where they can monitor, and one female put in excess of 70 eggs because they were being robbed. And then the next day she will find the eggs and lay down again, correct? So they have the capacity over a season. They typically flickers only raise one brood, but they have the capacity to tolerate all these thieving of the eggs, either by squirrels or by competition for nest cavities, like in this case, correct? As I told you, having photographing this particular area here, or this next, for about 3-4 years, this is the first time that I was able to monitor this, and this season I have been able to see it about 4 different days. Right?
Yeah, wonderful job. Wonderful work. Really nice.
So I showed some more of the other interaction with the other birds, and particularly with the starlings, another show.
Well, that's it for this series, guys. So thanks again for narrating and telling the story, and we really appreciate it. I mean, it was a joy tack sharp, beautiful shots, wonderful shots.
It's great shots, Gustavo. And this just goes to show that some of these projects are multiple year projects.
Exactly.
And I've been involved in some of them too. And it you just get better every year and every time you do it. But these are fantastic.
Yeah. Very.
Thank you guys.
But we look forward to a little mini presentation with some additional photos down the road. Our next batch of images, we have a second batch of images from Jim, aka Real Nikon Lover, that he sent me, some more images, and then we have follow up with images from Scuba Rozzi after that. So let's move forward here. So the first shot from Jim is he just calls out what lens he used. This was with the 105, the Z105 of this B. And then he moved on from the B to a hummingbird. Hummingbird hovering over the feeder. That's with the 800 PF lens.
Beautiful.
And then he got another shot with the tongue sticking out. Was probably sticking it out at Jim, saying, "Stop taking pictures of me, please." And then he took a picture of this rose. Let me get the data on this. This was a 30 image. This was with the 105 stacked 30 image composite of this rose.
And focus stacking, correct?
Yeah, focus stacking. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then he took a picture of the SS Minnow here. This was a with the 24 to 120, and this was a 40 image stacked image, 40 shot stacked image composite.
So the question whether that's the original SS Minnow from the Gilligan Islands.
I don't know. It's rusty enough. And then his last image was actually taken with his iPhone 11 Max of people fishing on the lake where he was.
That's a very nice photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, the boat on Gilligan's Island was wooden.
Yeah. And white, I believe, correct? I
Yeah,
remember. I believe it was white.
something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the boat on Gilligan's Island reminded me of an old wooden boat that my uncle had.
But probably was filmed in California, where Jim is, correct?
So that's the second batch of images that Jim sent in. So
Thank you,
thank
Jim.
you, Jim. You started us off with the scary spider, and you ended up with
Relax.
fishermen on the lake here. So good job. Now the next batch here are from Scubarazzi. So we'll put up his first image here.
Oh,
And now this is the monastery kestrel female. He says after the male brought her a mouse, she took it and flew away with it to eat it. So this is a composition of several images merged together in Photoshop. He says the background was replaced and the wall of the building was partially added by generative fill. So this was with the Z8 with the 180 to 600, 1/2500th of a second, f6.3, ISO 2500 at 600 millimeters.
wow.
And because he was on a roll with these multiple image compositions here, he put together another one. And this is the goosonder female. This is the bird that chased off some of the
Kestrel.
from the kestrels and took over the nesting box. And so he mentions that she gave up her eggs again this year. She stays around. She's sitting on the roof. He used auto capture to get these images, and he merged them in Photoshop. And once again, the Z8 with the 180 to 600, 1/2500th of a second, f6, ISO 3600 at 600 millimeter focal length. And that's a big bird, not a smart bird. And we talked a little bit back and forth. He basically called it a stupid bird because it fights to take over the nesting box, kicks out the kestrels, lays the eggs, and then abandons them. What's the point there? You stupid bird. What's the point? Then he got the picture of the
That's a great.
goosonder flying towards him. So he said he took this picture of it coming at him with a few other shots. He says autofocus was very sticky. The zoom lens is great as well. Just because when the bird gets closer and closer, he's able to zoom out a little bit, so he's not clipping the wings. He says he did edit the image in Photoshop RAW and used denoise slightly. This was once again the Z8 with the 180 to 6, 1/2000th of a second, f6.3, ISO 7200, which is why he used the denoise, I'm assuming, and at the 600 millimeter focal length.
Beautiful.
Then he sent in this shot, these cute guys. He says, after many years of searching, he got a tip where to find some breeding Eurasian eagle owls. The two young are already big. He says, unfortunately, they are far away, so that he had to use a teleconverter. And even then, he had to crop it in on top of that. Despite of f9 and low light in the evening, he was able to get a decent image thanks to denoise. Unfortunately, there was not much action, but hey, when they look this cute, don't complain. I mean, it's great that you were able to find them and get them. That's great. He says during the whole time the parents did not show up. He says they probably feed them only in the night, but he was happy to be able to get some images and a lot of videos of them as well. And once again, the Z8 with the 180-6 with a 1.4 times tele converter, 1/1250th of a second f9, ISO 640, and at an effective focal length of 840 millimeters. Wonderful shot. They're cool.
So cool. that zoom lens take the TC 1.4 quite well.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, it's sharp. I mean, the eyes are sharp. The feathers are sharp. I mean, it did good. Now, his last image that I'm going to share with you, he said this was an image of an animal that he photographed for the first time. And he said this was, he was looking for hares for a long time, and he found one while stalking the eagle owls. He says the hare had to be suicidal, as the small eagle owls can see it the whole time. Because currently it's not the little ones that would be the issue, but their parents. But anyway, he was happy that he was able to get some pictures of it. It was very calm, did not move, hoping that he didn't see it, that he did not see it. As you see with his settings, which were 1/200th of a second at f6.3, ISO 12,800 at 600 millimeters. He says he did use the denoise on feature of Photoshop Raw again. And he says, I know that Jeff does not like to use the term game changer, game change, but I would say that this feature is a game changer using the denoise. He says it even did recover some lost colors and dynamic range in the eye and the fur. He says, I know that some photographers say that it's not photography, but I think an image like this is something that one can show to other people or even put on the wall. But if I would take the unedited image, it would not impress that much. Well, when you're doing the denoise and all that stuff, I mean, you're really showing what you're seeing with the eye. I mean, you're compensating for some things that the camera just can't always do by itself, because you don't see the noise when you're looking at the subject. You know what I'm saying? So you're eliminating a characteristic due to the conditions, and you're presenting the image really as you're seeing it with your eye. So I don't see anything wrong with that at all. I'm doing that at all. And this was, like you said, like he stated, at ISO 12,800. So
it looked fantastic.
It's amazing. It's amazing what the denoise software in a lot of these packages can do. And I never got a chance to. I mean, I just don't ever seem to have enough hours in a day. I mean, I meant to watch the Steve Perry did a video talking about the denoise feature within Lightroom, which I use occasionally, but I usually end up using Topaz most of the time. But the thing I don't like about Topaz is the file sizes are quite large when you use the denoise program, much larger than what you would have if you use Lightroom's denoise function. So I got to watch his video and get a better grasp of the feature set within Lightroom and see if I can get the result I want and continue to get the smaller file sizes. But anyway, that's it from Paul, and wonderful shots as always. And it's neat that you're able to follow different groupings of kestrels in different locations, and that you have that ability to capture those birds. I mean, that's really, really nice, and they're always in your technique and your methodology and planning that you use, just like Gustavo does, to get those images is a lot of work, but you get the result that you want in the end. So congrats as always. I got one image that Ted sent me, aka Art Bear, as we know him by. And Ted and I talk we talk every once in a while, and I have good conversations with Mr. Stewart, and I get calls from Ted, and of course, Tim, aka Mozman, and I talk all the time, and Gustavo and I chat every once in a while, and whatnot. But man, sometimes we're so intense with what we do. Before you know it, you're on the phone for 2 hours or 3 hours. My wife says, "Who the heck did you talk to so long?" I go, "Don't worry about it. It's not the IRS." So Ted sent in an image here. He just sent in one. Let me get he was just fooling around with his Lumix bridge camera in South Haven Park in Suffolk County, Long Island. And this is the Lumix FZ80D, crop factor 5.64, FL 84 millimeter, f5.6, 1/125th of a second, and ISO 80. And for those that, I'm sure most people know what a bridge camera is, but the term bridge camera comes from basically 35 millimeter digital cameras that have a non-interchangeable lens, but have an extremely long focus range. And I see, a handful of people that shoot where I do that have some of the older Nikon cameras that had the real long zooms, that went from 28 millimeter to 1,000 or something crazy like that, So they're, very, smaller sensor size, obviously, in those cameras, but with those cameras, you could, people could get images that most people can't get with their kit that they bring with them with their with their larger sensor cameras.
It's like the Coolpix, correct? That was the P110 or whatever it is. No.
Yeah. And then the last images of the night are a few that I threw in here, and we're running pretty good with time here. Let me get to them. So this is the juvenile red-shouldered hawk in the nest that was nice enough to display its wings for me. This was in the late morning. Like I said, you can't get in this place till 9:30 in the morning. So this is probably like 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning, and the sun's the backlighting is difficult to manage. And this is with the Z9 with the 180. Here I use the 180 to 600, and this is at 600 millimeter f6.3, ISO 2500, 1/1600th of a second. And the reason for the 1/1600th of a second is because I don't know if it was going to make its first attempt to fly. So I wanted to make sure I had a fast enough shutter speed. Now, this next shot I took in Wrightsville Beach in North Carolina with Tim when he was visiting. And this is a real strange shot. This is a a least turn. I call it the least turn that's doing the backstroke, spitting out water.
Oh my God.
And this is probably one of the more unusual shots that I've ever gotten of one of these birds. I mean, literally flying upside down or coasting in this case, and spitting out water at the same time.
Yeah, cool.
Now,
But did you think he was trying to fish before that time and then didn't catch anything and just a mouthful of water?
yeah, probably missed out on the fish and decided I got to spit up. I got to spit up here. Hey, I got to pause for a second, guys. So why don't you talk for a minute? I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. Let me see.
I mean, that's quite a shot. Right there.
So what we waiting for Jeff to come back. So that's a reminder here, guys, that as Jeff was saying, I think this is you cannot see the entire thing, but let me modify it. So this is for our next get together, which is the general meeting. But at the core of the general meeting, there will be a presentation from Luis. Okay, so this is the he will make a presentation on his rather recent trip to Taiwan, which he called a hidden gem, and of course we will have an opportunity to do the news and rumors, special presentation, photo gear, you and all. I think I'm sure we have more time to talk that today, but you can see here a wonderful picture from this pheasant from Luis that he already sent us to create the thumbnail. So that's what's coming. So June 21st. So let me go back to can I go back to Jeff? No. So anyway, while we're waiting for Jeff to come back, anything else from you guys?
Yeah, it's interesting as some of these projects, like what you have, Gustavo, and what I have, and Scuba Rossi, they're multi-year projects. We have something that we want to do, and it takes years to get the results because we get a little bit better every time. And with the birds, you have such a short window of the year to get your shots, and then you have to wait till next year and to start all over again.
Exactly. And every year is slightly different. Guarasi will tell you, correct? So these that last year there was excavation of a new hole, which is the one that had been used here, and other years have been predation by raccoons, which I had to basically protect that tree, or they were issues with the squirrels. But this year have been all action on the flickers, among flickers. So it always gives you a new opportunity, and then you learn, David, indeed. You say what angle, what time, there's a year, etc., etc. So Jeff, when you were out, we were putting the a promo for the next show on June 21st. So you can go back to the photos.
Yeah, I'm still recovering a little bit from a procedure I had earlier in the week, and
no problem, friend.
So I had to leave for a second.
By the way, you have to correct the name. I know that we look similar, but you're still in your name. You're still showing up as me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When I logged in, it had my name. So, well, hey, I'm trying to I'm trying to imitate you as much as I can.
So we got two Gustavos.
Exactly.
So this next shot was of a skimmer with a fish.
Go back.
And-
Let me stop sharing here. Because you see, Jeff, I tried to go back to the show, but I cannot show the photo.
Okay, so let
Go
me
back to you.
Okay. All right. Oh, I'm letting you use your imagination.
Well, that's a different kind of photo review. We all imagine something different, and then we describe it.
I gotta stop it and start it again here because it's not taking it. Let me. Come on. I think it took it now. There we go.
Yeah, it looks great.
Okay, so this is a lost my cheat sheet though. Wait a minute. Come on. It has to be so complicated. What it is, I end up with layers of stuff on top of each other here. And okay. So this was a skimmer, and what I liked about this shot was the background's totally blurred out, and I have the fisherman person fishing to the right as the bird flies in with the fish. So let's just say the fish do much better at getting the fish than the fishermen do. This was with the Z9 with the 600 PF. Next year when I go, or if I go there later this year, and hopefully, I got some stuff going on next week, but the week after, maybe I could get there and still catch some of the babies, and go there with Bob. And I'm going to bring my 800 because they expanded the area that they put stakes in the ground, and they put like a little string, so you stay away from the nesting area, and they expanded it and made it much bigger. And then they're very, very protective. They don't like and what's sad is all it takes is one photographer to be a jerk, and all photographers are a jerk, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
And I'm talking with someone that there's a lot of volunteers that go through some training with the Audubon Society to basically guard these areas from idiots. And even though we didn't get, we stayed behind the string lines, they wanted us to be 10 or 15 feet further away from the string lines. So because of that, I wish next time I'll have my 800 PF, because they don't want you, even though it's not wrong. They don't want you up against the outer perimeter. They want you farther back. So this was with this, like I said, the 600 PF 1/1250th of a second f10 ISO 2500. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Beautiful.
The next shot. This is my funny shot of the set, and this is changing. We'll go back to the beach shot, but I'm interjecting a shot from the marsh area down in Murrells Inlet, and Bob and I were trying to get pictures of some baby oyster catchers, which are being quite elusive, because if we had a boat and we were out on the water, we could get some phenomenal shots of the babies, but they like to hide over the bank of seashells, and you can't get an angle on land where you can see them very well. So if they don't want to stand on top, it's hard to get shots of them. But anyway, there's all these boat traffic going out to the ocean, or people that are fishing in the marsh itself. And these fishermen, I found this really, really funny. They go out and the motor dies. They
Oh my
can't get the boat started. So here's a shot where the person at the front of the boat is paddling back to shore, paddling back to the dock, where the older gentleman in the back is still trying to start the engine at the same time.
Okay.
And you've got the float there that says idle speed, no wake. And I just found it funny because there's definitely going to be no wake when you're using a wooden paddle to try to get back to the dock. So I just found this shot. I intentionally waited for them to get where I could get that, that idle speed, no wake in there, and position them just the way I wanted it to get the picture. So I found that pretty humorous. But then again, I have a weird sense of humor anyway. But anyway, that's my funny shot out of the group. Now going back to the.
All you need is an alligator now, Jeff.
Yeah, well, you know what I said? I says, with the luck, what could have happened here, which scared me, is what if he got that motor starting and he had it in gear, and the boat took off while that guy has the paddle stuck in the mud? I don't know. I don't want to know what would have happened to that guy. It would not have been a good day.
And his legs on the water.
Yeah, his legs are partly in the water too. Yeah. So here's this next shot is you'll show it for what it is. The male skimmer basically said, "Hey, if I give you a fish, can we have a good time?" And that's what he's doing. He's having a good time with the female after he gives her a gift. And I could add all sorts of interesting narratives to this shot, but I will hold back on my sense of humor for this one. I'll let you use your imagination.
Wow,
yeah, fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks. Now, of all the literally, there weren't as many skimmers here as there were last year for whatever reason. But there were a lot more turns. And let me try to find my mouse here. And I spent a lot of time talking with the volunteer. And like I said, see, you get a photographer or a couple photographers that are really stupid. And I think one reason that they made a point, and they did it to us last year too, pull away from the string line. Is she told me a story how that they get these photographers that think they're snipers, and they're laying on the sand and they're actually crawling underneath the string line, and they're in the nesting area with a long lens, and they're crawling on their stomachs. And it's like you get people that are doing, excuse my language, asinine things like that, and then you wonder why they don't trust the photographers. So when we were there for a while, then they realized, okay, we were the good guys. We weren't going to do anything to invade the birds. That we were being very cautionary and not aggressive towards the birds in any way. And then they started talking to us more, and then that worked out because we were, of all the birds that were on the beach that day. I mean, I got a couple thousand pictures I still got to go through. Haven't had time, and I think I got maybe one nesting pair of terns where you can see an egg. Out of literally hundreds of them that were laying there hundreds and hundreds of them that were laying on the beach, and then I managed to get. They said, "Well, we want to show you something," because we'd already been there for several hours. She says, "We're gonna show you something." This was the only chick that was born on that was there that day. Wow. And they took us where it was, and I'm only showing one shot, but I got a nice series of shots with mom and dad with the baby.
I like it,
and that made the trip worthwhile. right there.
Oh, I like all the shells in the sand.
Can you zoom in on it?
Oop,
Yeah. You can do a negative zoom in on it.
I could do a negative zoom. Yeah, I have to. Let's see.
Yeah, Jeff, I think you're going to have to phone up Nikon and say, I want an 800 TC.
No, I don't have that kind of money. I got to try to get my.
Well, either that or have Gustavo phone them up and say he wants that and then neglect it to you.
Oops. No, it's not letting me.
Oh, okay.
Not letting me do it.
All right. It was a try, but it still is a fantastic shot.
But anyway, and then my last. I think it's my last image here. Yeah, my last image here I got a kick out of because this was at Huntington Beach State Park, and the alligator was bringing me a stick and wanted to play fetch. And I did not want to play fetch. Let's put it that way. So this one's for Roy. He likes the gators, and I did not want to play fetch, and I'm sorry, I'm just not going to do it.
Exactly.
So unfortunately, I gotta disappear again for a minute. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to then when I get back, we're going to go through all the pictures here. Give me a few minutes, Gustavo. I'll let you bring something else up or carry on a conversation. I will be back momentarily.
I think there was a question from Rakesh. Typical shutter speed with recommended for eagles in flight. So Rakesh, it depends very much on whether you are following the flight or you are basically with a tripod on a static condition. Okay? But I would say on larger birds, you can go lower shutter speed. The smaller the bird, the higher the shutter speed. So for an eagle being relatively large, and if you want to have any blur and you're following the bird in flight, you can go as low as 1/1600 of a second. I wouldn't prefer not to go below that. Okay, if it's static, like the eagle is landing in a nest, like what David was saying, probably you can go 2,000, 3,200 of a second. Correct? But the smaller the bird, the higher. You can see some of the photos I was taking of the flickers is 1/8000 of a second. So I try to get sufficient light that I go about 6,000, because I mean when the bird comes out of the hole and fly across the frame at 20 frames per second, there's only like 2 or 3 photos. Okay. So that's actually my recommendation. Now, interesting enough, while we're waiting here for Jeff, that's the beauty of the modern camera, correct? Because the dealing with noise is not such an issue nowadays. Achieving those 3,200 of a second or something like that um, is not that bad, because you typically can go your noise reduction software afterwards and you get fantastic images. Nowadays, anything in my case below an ISO of 6,400 or something like that, with noise reduction, it looks excellent, correct? So the situation is so much now around Rakesh that I think many of us follow Jan Wagner, which is a bird photographer. He actually his default setting for shooting, and I agree with that, is actually he started at 3,200 of a second. Okay, and then he has a one of those function button hole when he want to go to a lower speed, for, let's say, for a portrait on a static subject, correct? Because you can always have, remember, if there is any action or any motion of the animal, you still need to freeze the action, correct, to get a sharp image. So he's basically start with a relatively high speed. Now he lives in Australia, which is good light, correct? So for him it's easy to go, 3,200 a second, but that's his default, correct? And then he go lower when there's just a static situation, because you never know, the bird is going to jump or some other bird is going to land. And I agree with what he's doing. So that was the long answer to your question, Rakesh.
All right, I am alive here.
So we're talking about we were talking about
Oh, I heard your whole conversation.
so
I left
I
the
hope
volume on loud so I could hear you.
I hope you agree. So anyway, so we got to do the going through all the photos now again. So starting with Woody.
Yep. So we're going to start with some shots from Woody,
Fantastic photo.
and it's nice to get some human interest shots mixed in here with everything else. Wonderful Cooper's hawk.
Yes.
And then we got shots from Anita Stewart. She sent in a bunch of
Winter shot from Canada, because winter is never that far in Canada.
Well, the snow is gone now, so don't worry about it.
Take any pictures at all.
Beautiful.
Let me know if I'm going too fast, because I know sometimes it takes a while for the images to refresh and show up on your screen. So if I'm going too quick, let me know. And then these were from Red-Shouldered Hawk from Bob Our Photos. Bob.
Yeah, what I find, Jeff, is it takes about 5 seconds or so for the photos to stabilize on YouTube.
Okay.
So your first 5 seconds don't count.
Bizarre.
Okay.
Then we got some images from Diana Ishii that she sent from her Instagram account to Gustavo, and then he sent them over to me to share with everybody.
The X.
Yeah.
The Ishis are really having fun with the Fuji with a 35mm lens.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then we got the shots from Terry.
He's got lunch.
Yeah, lunch.
Beautiful.
It's an interesting sky.
Yeah.
I like the shot.
Then we got from here we moved on some images from Luis.
This is 1/1600th of a second. This shot.
Yes. And for hummingbird, that's on the slow side.
Yeah, yep.
It all depends on how much movement that you want, or that you can accept in
Well,
the photograph.
I guarantee you that bird was hovering there, correct? So
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, now here he's at 1/3200th of a second, which and I'm sure he was panning as well. No doubt about that. Panning as well. But if you weren't panning with it, you'd be shooting this at like 1/5000th or 1/6000th of a second easy.
And it's a lot easier for this type of photo to be panning with.
Yeah.
Again, another condition here where you need high shooter speed. Okay, he said that he was shooting from a boat. Even a boat with calm weather, it would be bouncing. So you need to bump up the shutter speed. And nowadays we can do it. Correct?
Yeah. And then these next shots are from Michael Dries. Whoa. Michael Dries. Got carried away here.
That's wonderful.
And this was a nice reflection shot of the sky on the water.
Yes. Fantastic, Michael.
Is that coming in for a landing?
Probably. This is a photo of the Lincoln. You have Lincoln there in the Carolinas too, correct? Yeah.
What's that?
Lincolns. You have Lincolns in the Carolinas? Or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I've never seen one. Doesn't mean we don't have them, but I've never seen one.
Talk about Boca.
Yeah. I mean, you could either definitely you're gonna kind of get opinions on each end of the spectrum on this characteristic. There's gonna kind of be no middle ground. You're either gonna love it or you're not gonna like it. One or the other. But I think when you mix things up and you got some of these specialty lenses that have come out, a lot of them from China with different characteristics that it's good to mix things up once in a while. It's just like, okay, you look at a shot like that, and if you were just taking tons and tons of shots with that lens, it would get old after a while. It's just like you can overdo it with a fisheye lens, right? You could just start getting carried away with a fisheye lens, and after a while it's okay, we've seen enough of shots that you've been taking with your fisheye lens. So
I think two fisheye lenses or two fisheye shots in an album are too many. And I've got a fisheye. See, this is a different way of riding a horse. We had the 3 examples in a row. The first one was the weather vane.
Yeah. You did a very nice job with this one, David.
And this was a pretty intensive crop also.
Yeah.
So how many eaglets were there, David? I mean, we see one, but there were two.
I only saw one in the hour that I was there.
Okay.
And I was I had my Z9 at 10 times magnification trying to find more, but I only saw one at a time.
And this is your multi-year project on the Canon?
Yeah, well, yeah, and see, this one was 1/15th of a second. So you don't really want a fast shutter speed for this. This is not really a multi-year. It's a multi-time because I was living in Vancouver for a year.
Oh, okay.
And so I shot about 4 or 5 times that year. And every time I go back, I shoot it once or twice.
This is Jeff.
These are Jeff Sluter's shots with the poppies
like
coming up. Yeah.
I had a lens that went to f/45. I just can't remember which one it was. But f/29 is not that high. It's out of the range for an ordinary lens.
Now we're getting to Randall's images. I like that with the turtles. I'm a sucker for logs with turtles on them. I always take pictures of turtles when they're sitting on logs. I don't know why.
Well, that log is not around anymore. It's gone.
Yeah.
Down the river. So.
Yeah. It should have moved that bird a little bit more to the right, Randall.
Yeah, that was one of the shots I took. I just picked that one.
Yeah.
See, that's another type of bird. So
That's a bluebird.
yeah.
At least it's not a pigeon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That make this a green bird?
Green bird.
She had a wonderful smile.
She was having fun.
So Randall, people go to the river for
Yes.
eating regularly, or
Yes. Have you ever heard of Schlitterbahn?
no?
It's a real big, famous water park
Okay.
in New Braunfels, and they go tubing, and they, right where that waterfall is, where that lady is,
Yes.
they go over that waterfall, and then they're done. They just put up the tubing, and it goes on a vehicle, and then they take it back to Schlitterbahn. So there's a whole bunch of people going down the Guadalupe all the time.
Mm.
It's a wonderful place to cool off. Yes, there are snakes there, and but there's also a lot of wildlife too.
Now we got these are from Jim Eads, aka Real Nikon Lover, the killer spider, soon to be in an upcoming horror movie, science fiction movie.
And he was saying they're really friendly too because they want to move in with you.
Yeah, they want to move and they knock on your front door. Can we come in?
And they were said they were big. I remember reading comment about 1.5 inch long.
And I only see 2 eyes on that. Most spiders have more than 2.
Yeah.
So.
And then these were from Robert Rosado.
Brunel's.
UK shots.
So you see, Jeff, these bridges were made in I think probably the 1880s.
Yeah.
When I think this famous engineer, started during the Industrial Revolution in England, because they have access to iron, to what they call this type of iron, cast iron, correct, and steel later on. So that's a big revolution in building these type of bridges, and you can see they are still being used, correct?
Yep.
More than 100 years ago. The water lilies.
Yeah, I love water lilies. And then we got Mr. Gustavo's first set of images, piano shots in Utah.
That area there's so many national parks.
Yeah, if you want to, yeah, if you want to hit a bunch of them at once, that's probably the most populated area in terms of national parks.
Oh yeah.
Canyonlands, right? Arches. God, they have so many, and then there's probably a lot of small ones too that people don't even.
The best view of the Colorado River is, which I didn't go this time, is from a state park called Dead Horse Point. I mean, that has a fantastic view of the Colorado River, the Colorado Canyon. Schaefer Trail.
Yeah, you see some of these shots, you think you're on a different planet.
Exactly.
You know,
remember that I haven't been there actually, but a little story here. My son always complained, "Why do you take me so many times when he was young to Utah? I don't want to go to Utah anymore." But we haven't been there in a while, so this is the first time that I went with the mirror system. So, but I need to go more time. We were looking actually for flowers, but we went a little bit late for the desert flowers. We managed to get some, and we show in another show. But if you get bad weather here, fantastic. There's Martin Hill.
Yeah, Martin. This was the spa with the front lawn called Bowling Green.
The question for Martin when he is whether this area here with the spa was I found when visiting Germany many years ago that where there was this spa was typically where the Romans have made a thermal bath, correct? So the Romans already have put all the places where they have all the different baths because of thermal waters in Germany. Beautiful photo.
It's for the, as they say, that's for the lifestyles for the rich and famous.
And the Romans knew how to live for sure.
They had baths all over the place.
Yeah, exactly.
There's quite a few in the UK.
Yeah, but if there was thermal waters, they will make a settlement there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got in England they have a place called Bath 2.
Yeah, because there is a bath.
Yeah.
And then this is Gustavo's next set of images with the northern flickers with the hybrid species. Great shots. I'm going to show up someday on your front porch, Gustavo, and surprise you. And then the next one's coming up here from second batch of images from Jim in Real, aka Real Nikon Lover.
Taking advantage of the nectar for the hummingbirds.
Yeah. I'll tell you, my grandmother had a pear tree. Grandmother had a lot of fruit trees in her yard when I was growing up, and way too much fruit where, a lot of the stuff ended up on the ground. And of course, the worst thing is a pear tree with pears on the ground, because what you end up with is you get yellow jackets that build nests underground, and they love to feed on the sweet pear juice on the pears. Absolutely love it. And you'd be walking around, to try to get a pear that was still on the tree or whatever, and all of a sudden you're getting attacked by a bunch of yellow jackets. No fun whatsoever. Used to pour gasoline in the ground and throw in a match and burn them out. And then this was a stacked image, as was the next one coming up. And then this was the lake shot from his phone. And then the next shots coming up are from Scubarazzi, which were a series of images that were put together in Photoshop of, the same bird, in different flying positions.
Incredible.
And we did that on several of the images. The next one as well, with the goosander bird, with the idiot bird, as he likes to call it now, the stupid bird.
It's just practicing.
Yeah, it's practicing laying eggs, but it doesn't want to take care of them and raise them. So it's like, next time I think he's gonna keep it from doing what it did this year. These guys are cute. These guys are
He's going to have to make the entrance to the nest smaller so the bird can't get in.
And the hair.
The hair. This is Ted's shot. And then go through mine here quickly.
So you Jeff, you think that this red shoulder is related to that other red shoulder that Bob took, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The one that he took was the adult. Yeah. But the little ones grow up so fast. It's amazing how fast they grow up. And then, a lot of it's amazing how certain birds, like owls, don't really make nests. They steal nests that are already there. And then we had one area in that park where Brook Green Gardens there, where there was one tree, and it'd be like an alternating thing. One year the tree would have barred owls in it or horned owls in it, and then the next year it would be a red-shouldered hawk that would take over the nest, and then the year after that, it would be the owls again. But unfortunately, that particular tree it got damaged and in a storm, and several trees around it got destroyed, and so now that particular part of the park, there's no more nesting anymore, because they used to nest in that one spot, and there was too much damage from high winds. But it's interesting how different bird species will almost seems like they got a timeshare arrangement. Oh, this year's my year, next year's your year.
Depends who gets there first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe next time you go there, Jeff, there will be more chicks.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that I can get there before they're too big. But unfortunately, I got some painters coming to do some work in the house this coming week, and I'm not going to be able to go this week. And I really wanted to go. This is the week I wanted to go. In the following week. Well, the thing is, the following week we may see the tern babies may be much bigger, but the skimmer babies will probably be. There's a delay. The skimmers have their babies later than the terns do. So, but anyway, let me get out. That's it, folks. That's everything summarized, and thank everybody for their submissions as always. Fantastic images. I know, unfortunately, we seem to have lost our very small contingent of, other than Anita, we've lost our other contingent of female photographers, which I'm not overly happy about, because we used to like to get, NASA Nancy sharing some stuff, and along with Ava Campbell. And I know Ava's got, probably stuff going on with her mom, with her health and whatnot. But I really would like to see. I don't know how we promote the channel to try to
Diana as well.
attract more female photographers, but it's kind of like we all I'm sure joke privately or sometimes with each other that this is like the old men's photography club, and it would be nice to have some younger people that want to share some different types of imagery, and get some female photographers that want to join us, because we don't bite, we clown around a little bit, but we appreciate everybody. We appreciate everybody's efforts. We really do. We always have. And I really wish that we would get some more, younger audience members to come in and join, and some female photographers, because I think, how the style of shooting and the methodology and an approach that how a woman sees an image is in many cases much different than a male. And I think, we see the images that Diana Ishii takes. I mean, they're phenomenal images, and I hope that we can somehow, get more females to come and take an interest in joining this event. But I don't know how we do it. But anybody has any great ideas? And people that are in I hope that those of you that are in photo clubs that are in your own photo clubs in your community, in your town, or where you live or whatever, and you have if you have female members in the club, is invite them to come on the show, or let them know about the show, and try to encourage them to just stop by. They don't have to go in the chat. Just pop in, watch part of the show, and if you find it entertaining and you find it engaging and you're getting anything out of it, then feel free to join the party, because the more the merrier. The more the merrier. Let me put up I'll put up there. I'm sure you probably already did, Gustavo, but I got this our little standard
Go ahead.
our little messaging here on the next image review on the 5th of July. Now we're gonna talk about this a little. I'm going to ask you guys to reply in the comments, after the show is over or whatever, because I guess I have a concern with the photo review being July 5th, that obviously a lot of people travel during that time and they're visiting family and friends. And, I hate to have the photo review and then nobody has the time to participate or show up because you got plans with family, and family comes first, in my opinion. So, if you guys think that we should do it on a different day, instead, let me know in the comments. I'll just let you know ahead of time that the third, I think it's let me get my calendar up here. I wouldn't be able to do it the following week, because the 12th and the 19th of July, I'm not going to be in South Carolina. So, we got to figure out, what we're going to do for the show on the third week of the month in July. And, Gustavo is more than capable of, we could set it up and have it ready, and he could log in and run the show. I don't need to be here. I know you'll miss my beautiful face, but it's not that beautiful. And he would do a more than capable job. So, but like I said, I'm not so sure about the photo review, whether we should do it.
So we have time between now and the June 21st general meeting to coordinate calendars, and then we can inform people on what we to do. But nevertheless, if you have photos already, send it to Jeff, correct?
Send them in. I probably get, I'm guessing I probably get 30 to 40% of them in the last week, in the last 3 days, actually. So it'd be just nice to just have a steady stream,
Well, one thing what you could do, Jeff, is move the cutoff date earlier.
No,
well, I'm afraid I wouldn't have very many images to show if we do that.
Well, you might maybe only a day or two earlier.
Yeah.
Rather than July the 4th, make it July the 3rd. But then it starts affecting us Canadians, because we got July the 1st as a holiday, and
okay.
But it doesn't affect July the 4th. Only affects the Americans.
So we'll figure out, get coordinated the calendars, and then we figure out what to do, and we'll let you know on our next general meeting on the June the 21st, where we have Luis' presentation. So we have time to figure it out. But if you have images, send it already.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm in the dark now, as you can tell. So I'm kind of in my element.
In the dark, David in the dark.
Yeah.
We won't go any further into that discussion. Some people say I do my best work in the dark. Anyway, to just kind of touch on a few of the other rumors out there. I mean, I don't think I'm going to, I'm still feeling a little because I couldn't eat for a couple days, and now that I'm eating again, it's not totally agreeing with me. But I don't think I'm going to try to do the vintage camera discussion tonight, but we'll just touch on some of the rumors here and see if you guys have any other things you want to talk about. Sony rumors, I already did Nikon rumors. They didn't really have a lot out there.
Except the 3 cameras registered, correct? Potential 3 cameras be registered.
Yeah, you know what? I don't get too overly excited until we get a lot closer. it's just like all the and you know this, Gustavo, any of these patents that get issued. There's so few patents that come to fruition. I mean, patents is just to protect your intellectual property, and that may never come to fruition just because it may be too expensive to implement it, not cost effective, a million different reasons, or you end up finding a better way of doing it, and then you come out with another patent. So some people really get hung up on tracking all the patents for all the camera manufacturers. And so many of them don't come true. I don't even try to focus on that because that's kind of just like that's worse than rumors in a way. Rumors are probably more accurate than whether a patent is going to be come into effect or not. If you go to Sony rumors right now, and I watched a little bit of it, but they have a YouTube video on Sony Alpha Rumors titled "Which Camera is Better, the A1 II or the A9 III?" And for those of you that are Sony owners, or even if you're not a Sony owner and you're thinking of buying one of those two cameras, you may find that to be a very interesting video to watch. And on June 17th, this coming up here, Sigma is going to announce a new 12 millimeter f1.4 and a 17 to 40 millimeter f1.8 E-mount APS-C lens, and that same lens is going to come out for other brands as well, like Fuji is going to get those same lenses, and I think even Canon might be. That's really it with Sony rumors. There wasn't really a lot in there either. Fuji rumors. They have an XE5 camera coming out, which is presumably going to feature the film simulation dial that they first put out not too long ago on the X-T50 and the X-M5 camera. It's to be announced on June 12th at 5 a.m. New York time. It's a 40 megapixel X-Trans 5 sensor, IBIS, to be launched with a 23 millimeter pancake lens. And the GFX 100 RF that John Ishii and his wife are enjoying so much, that's supposedly back in stock at B&H as of the 28th of May. Doesn't mean it's in stock anymore, but as of the 28th of May, it was in stock. But that was only for the silver model. The black version was still out of stock at that time. And Godox released, they call it an IT30 Pro-TTL pocket flash. Interesting little flash, just for something for snapshots or, in the house, taking pictures of your grandkids or that type of a flash. Kind of interesting. Now, there's a lot of what's an old time term? Scuttlebutt. There's a word you probably haven't heard since you were like 8 years old, if you're my age. Scuttlebutt. There's a lot of scuttlebutt going on about the Fuji X half frame camera, which for some is like absolutely no interest in that. I don't care about it whatsoever. But you know what? That's a camera that along with the Pentax half frame film camera. The young people love them. The young people love them.
But my question on that one is, you like that? Go and shoot film. Buy your own camera and shoot film. I mean, it's a little bit silly, correct? I mean,
yeah, it's when you look at it, the Pentax costs a fair amount of money. It was like almost $600, but a lot of that was because there wasn't anybody left at Pentax that knew how to make a 35 millimeter camera anymore. They had to bring back all the retired guys to figure out how to make a 35 millimeter camera. And so the cost, they didn't have, they threw out all the tooling. They didn't have any of the tooling that they had years ago when they made cameras.
But that was a film camera, correct?
One was the Pentax one is a film camera. Now the XF camera has film simulation modes, but it's not a film camera. It's a digital camera. Now that's like $300 more than the Pentax. But when you think about it, for what film costs and developing costs and everything else, probably a better deal to get the digital version. And it's actually climbing the bestseller rankings at Amazon and B&H Photo.
Oh, sure.
And it sells for $849, but it's priced high due to the economic conditions. I'll leave it at that, so people don't say I'm getting political. Oh, I don't want to get political. But some of the features of that camera is it's got an 18 megapixel. It's a 1-inch vertical 3:4 ratio CMOS sensor. So when you're holding the camera, what you consider normal for landscape mode, it's a vertical picture.
Yeah, you got to turn it
You
sideways.
want to do a horizontal picture, you got to rotate the camera, and now it's a horizontal picture.
I mean, it's I would say gimmicky, but I mean, I like the in the little window it showed the emulation Belvia or Provia. I mean, cute.
Yeah. I mean,
cute.
they will sell. They will sell to the young. They'll sell to the people that love the iPhone and they want something a little bit.
But the iPhone is a digital camera. This is a digital camera impersonating a film camera.
Yeah. But without the cost of film and waiting to get your pictures back.
Yeah.
It does come with the printer, though. So
and you can print, and you could use the printers that they sell for their Insta cameras.
Yeah.
What gets me is that even have a lever. Right?
Yeah.
They
want to make it the same. Yeah.
Yeah, frame advance lever, exposure compensation dial, 32 millimeter equivalent lens, 13 film simulations, 26 filters, 1080, video recording. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting. What's weird though is unlike a digital camera that we're used to, you take a picture, you take one shot, and you can have the preview show up on the back of the screen. Mm-hmm. Not with this camera. You have to tell it whether you're pretending you're shooting with a 36 exposure roll, 24 exposure roll, or whatever. And of course, you get twice the number of shots per frame, quote unquote. But you don't get to look at the images on the back until you've completed the fake roll of film that you have in the camera, because they're trying to make it out like it's a film camera, but it's not a film camera. So it has some gimmicky, some cool things, some weird things. But it'll be interesting to see how how it
picks up. You buy it. I don't think so. Randall, would you buy it? I mean,
yeah, I'm waiting to see if I get one. I already got the batteries. I already got the dummy battery. I'll get the printer. It's just a hit and miss with B&H. They'll notify me, hey, you may have to wait. You have to order it from somewhere else. But I got all the extra batteries, the SD card, the dummy battery. I'm just waiting for the camera.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to say goodbye to some people here. Jim's leaving. I think Robert's taking off. And so you guys have a good evening, and thank you for joining us and sharing with us as always. We appreciate it.
I'm going to take off also because my batteries are dying.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to leave when I still can say goodbye. Otherwise, I'll be goodbye.
I'll say, where did David go? I don't know. You see
Anyway.
David? I don't see David.
I'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks.
All right, sounds good.
So,
Good night.
Jeff,
Okay, bye.
Question for you. So you saw the announcement of the cinema lenses from Sigma, correct?
Yeah.
They announced all these, I don't know how many. Actually, that was from the marketing point of view, that was clever, correct? doing it that way. The question for you as a Nikon user, I know that we are not in the cinema type of lenses. Should Nikon release a schedule of cinema lenses? Eh?
I don't think they will.
Yeah.
But you can see if this is the market you're trying to target, when like they did to us with the
Well, let's put it this way. I don't, it's possible they will, but they're not going to do it now, because they're not going to do it because they don't have technically, they don't really have a Nikon cinema camera yet. They have red, but red it's different. The Nikon,
they have one lens, correct? The zoom that they purposely differentiated with the gold ring.
Well, but it's not. It's not using T stops. It's using f stops. So one can argue it's not a cinema lens because of that. But
the question is, from the marketing, would it make sense for them now that Sigma basically went ahead and did this? Okay, should Nikon do something similar?
I think
roadmap.
I think what they're probably doing is they're going to come out with what they're going to call is a cinema centric camera, and at that time they may introduce 3 or 4 lenses that they already have ready to introduce with that camera when it comes out. And now I don't think it's going to be long before they do that. I mean, I think that they'll have a cinema centric camera in less than a year. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is, go the roadmap. Out, correct?
Yeah, I think that now for what I have no issues with for my dabbling, what I do using the lenses that I own now. I get very good results with them. It's not like if they came out with something else, I couldn't get better results. But I'm not aiming to get at that type of a level, because in my heart, I'm a photographer first, and the video content I do supplements my story or adds to my story. But doesn't replace the stills that I take. Now it's interesting that I'm trying to think of who it was now. Who the heck was it? There was Peanut Chew there. Peanut Chew originally did tons of still images, and he basically has almost dropped taking still images and gone strictly video. And then I think there was somebody else Jerry Guionis. Okay, Jerry Guionis, well known as a wedding photographer. He did those he did some of those really, really great videos with the Singer and whatnot, when they introduced the video capabilities for the Z9 and whatnot, and he put together a real professional video content for that Singer. And I think he is actually getting more into doing, in terms of professionally and income stream wise, is doing probably more video content now than he is weddings. So there are some people that are taking that turn and diving more into the video side and backing off from the photography side a bit. So I think they got to come out with something in the next year or less, and then I think don't make the mistake, like you said, because of what other people are doing. Don't make the mistake of introducing that new camera and then just saying, "Oh, it's coming out with this one lens." You introduce that new camera and you come out with a set of lenses. And then you can say, and in the future, we're going to do this, 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 and this. but you come out with at least 3 lenses when that camera comes out. I think that would be a really good marketing ploy if they did something like that.
Okay.
But you know, time will tell. I mean, I don't know how many people, you know, that frequent our group that are going to get to that next tier of cinematography where, you know, a lot of people buy the what do you call it? The you know, the frame that you put on your camera, you know, so you can attach
The rig.
articulating items and extra display screens and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know how many people are really into that next level of video where, you know, where basically you need to have where you're shooting, you know, people that are shooting 8K and stuff like that, you know, that have to have, you know, the latest and greatest highest level processor, Apple computer or whatever. It's just so much time to do that. I mean, you have that. You're doing that because you're doing it to make money, and that's going to be a career. But for a hobby, to go to that next step, it's really hard to justify it if you're not doing it to make money. It's just so much money. So it'll be interesting to see how that market develops.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. There wasn't really much from Canon. Really, I won't even bother going there. I mean, we're getting near the end of the show here anyway. What's that?
The FX2?
Yeah, the
one with the EVF.
With the EVF that tilts. I believe it tilts up.
Yep.
Yeah, the FX2 is an interesting looking camera. It is. But well, they say it does, you know, it still has, you know, pretty good still capability, but I mean, it's being marketed as a cinema centric camera, but you know, it still does stills pretty good.
And it has a fan too, so.
And it has a fan, yeah. I'm not a big fan of fans. No, I'm serious. I mean, you know, I worked in aerospace, and let me tell you, when you want to put a fan in, which you have to have in a lot of gear in military hardware, space hardware, stuff like that, those are not cheap fans. Those are like super expensive fans because a lot of that stuff has to last for a long time and not crap out, and you can't afford to have it crap out because you could have a plane crash, you could have somebody die depending on what kind of equipment it is. So let's just put it this way: the fans that they're putting in a camera are not that pedigree, and they're not going to make them to that pedigree because it's not cost effective for them, and they can't recover the costs. So for me, you know, those fans are, I'm not a fan of them because I don't think they're going to hold up over time, and you're going to have problems, and then you're going to be bringing your cameras in to get repaired. And there's other ways to dissipate the heat where you get enough runtime on your video, and one of them is stop making the cameras for people that have hands the size of a 5-year-old kid. Okay, make the camera with enough meat on it so that you can have enough heat dissipation and get like you get with a Z9. A Z9, you can shoot video for a long time and you don't have a problem. Unless you're a professional and you're doing the next Lord of the Rings episode, you don't need anything more than that for what we're doing.
Imagine the situation you were there with water splashing and stuff and a fan. I mean, I don't think
And,
so.
I really don't like the ones where the fan is something that you attach with
Right.
screws into the.
Yeah, I'd rather have them built in than have like what is it?
You
Small
move the
rate.
you move the flippy screen out of the way. You have to move the flippy screen out of the way, and you got to mount the fan
Yeah, and
on
then
the
you can't
back,
close the screen.
and
Yeah,
you can't close the screen. Yeah, no, not
but
not not.
there's another thing you have to think about is the noise the fan will create. So you have to get kind of like an exterior microphone so you can bypass that. And I've
Yeah,
noticed that.
and it's not just noise that you hear audibly. Okay, it's signal noise. It's noise that can affect other parts of the circuitry inside of the electronics of the camera. Okay, so it isn't just audible noise to the ears. Fans can generate electrical noise. Okay, so you have to have shielding, or you have to have, like I said, you got to have uh, ball bearing motors, with permanent lubrication and all this other stuff, and you got to put the money into it, or otherwise you're just gonna, the fan gets noisier over time, and now you hear it in your video clips. So it's like, no, it's not. I mean, I realize they put it in the higher end, but if you're putting it in a cinema camera, a true cinema camera that you're selling for $40,000 to $70,000, $80,000, yeah, you're going to have better fans in those.
Yeah,
But
you're paying for it.
yeah, you're paying for it. But there's I mean, Canon's supposed to come out with another cinema camera as well, an EOS style camera. Probably sometime in September. You may put out two of them. And
Jeff, the
but
other thing that
the FX2 is an interesting camera, being 33 megapixels too. And it kind of surprises me that I'm still a little disappointed that Nikon did not come out with a 35 megapixel camera. They seem content on. They have very, very good, excellent 24 megapixel sensors. There's nothing wrong with those sensors, but you put in something that's in that middle range between a 24 and a 45. It gives somebody who might not want to spend the money for a 45 megapixel full frame camera, but gives them the opportunity, if they're into sport photography or nature photography, to be able to do have a larger image, a larger file size, so they can crop a little bit more.
Right. Yeah.
And still have some good quality, make some good size prints, high resolution prints. And I wish they would come out with a 33 or a 35 megapixel sensor, at least one camera to have it, because it's another tool in their toolbox. If they do that, it's another thing in their kit, their repertoire. The whole thing is, you want to try to have it so you have a camera for everybody. You have a camera for everybody, because you want to try. It's just like car manufacturers, right? I mean, whether it be, especially more so the Japanese manufacturers, Honda or Toyota, they don't sell a car to you just hoping that you're going to buy one car. They've created a brand where they want you to buy cars from them for the rest of your life. That's the customer that they want. They want the customer that's going to be so happy with the quality and the reliability that they're going to say, okay, I put 100,000 on this car, never had a problem. I'm getting tired of the looks, a little dated, want to do an upgrade, and you go and you buy another one from them. That's what they want. American car companies don't care. They just want the instant money. That's the problem with American car companies. They're not looking. I mean, they'd like you to come back and buy another one of their brand, but they don't. they don't treat you in a manner and build their cars to the level where, I mean, I've owned, God, probably 7 or between 7 and between me and my wife, 7 or 10 Hondas or Acuras. And I have never, no lie, I've never had one of those cars have a problem ever. I've only done regularly scheduled maintenance.
Yeah.
I've never had a transmission failure. I've never had a water pump fail. I've never had a timing belt go. Never. Just never had electrical gremlins. I've never had a problem. I mean, I just actually sold my Honda SUV because my wife's got a CRV. I had a Passport. I sold my Passport and I bought a same model year Acura TLX sport, more of a sporty car for myself. And but I stayed with the Honda Acura brand. Because I don't have any, I've had Subarus. I had good luck with Subarus, but my only issue with Subarus were with their all-wheel drive system that is kind of unique to them. If you say you had a tire, you had say you had a good brand of tire, you had Michelin's, and if you drove it normal, you get say 60,000 miles on the tire. So let's say at 30,000 miles, one of the tires gets wrecked. You can't change the one tire. You got to replace all 4 because of the way their all-wheel drive system works. They make you change all 4 tires. Other car manufacturers have all-wheel drive systems that kick in when needed, the front-wheel drive, and then they kick in the 4-wheel drive when you need it. And usually those, you don't have to replace all 4 tires if you get, I mean, obviously if the wearing is incredible and you got 10,000 miles left on all the tires, you're going to change them all. But I'm just saying there's different things. And that was like, I had like pretty new tires on a Subaru Outback one time, and one tire, got damaged, and they made me change all 4. And I'm like, not doing that anymore,
That's why I like Discount Tire.
But anyway, it's but cameras the same thing. You want to have enough variety in your lineup with everything being a real level of reliability and quality, so that's the only brand that the people think about that they want to buy when they want to get another camera, instead of leapfrogging and because I mean, I've had different camera brands. I got a lot of different camera brands behind me. Of course, they're not digital cameras, but it's obviously if you're able to stick to a brand, a lot of the menu systems, you go from one camera to the next, other than maybe a couple buttons that got moved around. The menu system and how the menu system works is similar enough where you pick up on it quickly and you don't have a big learning curve. But when when you go from one brand to another and you don't use those other brands often enough, then you're like all the time flipping through the manual. How do you do this? How do I set this? How do I change this? It drives you batty, drives you nuts.
You're talking to Randa, who has all the different models, all the different manufacturers. So he had to be nimble on 3 different systems. Anyway, so that's what we have for today.
Yeah, that's it, guys. So we hope that you join us in a couple weeks, and we will put out the week before. We'll put out the thumbnail, and we'll send out the invites to the panel, and we'll keep things going. And then we will think about what we want to do in July, because we have a few things that we got to think about. And I'm glad that you came, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And I'll say my good nights, and I'll let my partners in crime here say their good nights. But
thank you, guys. Wonderful images. enjoy the show as usual. So let's prepare for the next one.
And stay cool. It's getting hot down here already. So,
Well, you're over 100 degrees again, right?
yeah, well, it was 92, 93, but we're expecting rain this next week. So it's going to cool things down, which is a good thing. It's supposed to rain 4 times. We've had a lot of rain this past 2 weeks. And like I said, the Guadalupe it took a lot of stuff away. But the swimmers were happy because they went tubing down the Guadalupe and they loved it. So.
All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
See you guys.
Bye.